Hey guys, Jake here. Before we start the show, I want to make you aware of something that our buddy Mike Crawford and the UCLA Alumni and Wooden Athletic Fund is doing for the San Diego State game at San Diego State. Me and Mike will be there. I think Bill will be there too. But the event is the Bruin Bash, UCLA football at San Diego State. It is Saturday, September 9th, 2023, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific. It's going to be on the north lawn of Snapdragon Stadium, and that's at 2101 Stadium Way. And it is $65 for adults, $45 for children, 5 to 12, and children under 5 are free. So there will be a link in the show notes. And if you're looking for a fun pregame event for Bruin fans before the San Diego State game, you might as well make it the Bruin Bash.
Fight, fight, fight!
This is Maurice Jones-Drew, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA, fight, fight, fight!
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show Network, with your hosts, Jake Merrifield, Bill Shirley, Jamaal Artis, and Mike Regalado, bringing you anything and everything UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
Well, hello, and welcome to What's Bruin. I am your host, Jake Merrifield, and I'm joined here by my good buddy, Mike Regalado of Bruin Report Online. Mikey, how are you doing today?
What's up?
So, it is just us today. There will be a guest appearance by Bill at some point in the show. There will be a guest appearance by Jamaal at some point in the show. But for now, it is just a good old standard MJ edition.
The ceiling is the roof.
The MJ edition.
Yeah, the MJ edition. That's us. That's Mike and Jake. So, Mikey, glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And
on our regularly scheduled Tuesday, Bill.
That's right. Yeah, well, I mean, look.
Okay.
How can you expect?
He has an excuse.
How can you expect the What's Bruin show that we've been doing for 10 years, and we are just like surging in popularity?
Uh-huh.
At worst, the number 4 UCLA podcast in this market. Do you realize how crowded the UCLA podcasting market is right now?
It's gotten.
There's a lot of dudes doing a lot of podcasting.
Yeah.
But anyways, how could you expect this podcast, our garage band, to rate above volleyball practice? That's all I want to say. How could it
Exactly.
possibly?
10 years strong.
Whatever.
+1 and.
Hey,
Volleyball.
but it's the MJ edition.
The MJ edition.
Coming to you after UCLA wins Game 1 against Coastal Carolina, those Chanticleers. And it was a game where, I think, Mike, I know I was listening on the post-game show. There were moments that were frustrating in the moment.
Yeah.
But I think upon further review, it actually was a pretty good game for the Bruins, all things considered, if they are figuring out the things we think they're figuring out on the offense.
Yeah.
Right? At least one data point in. And then also, if you look at the defense and really go back and look at how they actually performed, I think it was a good defensive performance, even though in the moment, and certainly there were some problems. There were some things to fix. But I think overall it was a pretty good performance. But we'll get to that more in a few minutes with the game that was.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to that, let's properly open the show. This is, of course, the What's Bruin Symposium on the What's Bruin Show Network. A lot of great shows on one great feed. You have this show, the What's Bruin Symposium, which we'll talk about in a little while. We also have The Bare Minimum.
The Bare Minimum.
Which I just recorded an episode with Megan today, and that will be on your feed sometime towards the end of the week, I'm sure. We also have West Coast Bias.
You're just all about the West Coast bias. You don't like the East Coast.
Jamaal said he's going to send in some sort of solo episode for me to talk about West Coast sports, so I'm assuming that will be in my mailbox soon, and then it'll be on the feed. And the UCLA B team's still out there doing their thing. I don't know if they're on our feed anymore, but they're doing things. So if you want to hear Michael Hanna
it's been a solid 28 hours or so of feeling myself.
By all means, I think it's on like Twitter Spaces or something. Is that a thing? Spaces, is that Twitter?
It's I guess it's been a big thing
in
the
like
last
X
year and a
Faces,
half.
Faces X. It's a thing that's on that platform that used to be called Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where you can find the B team for
It's
the most
still
part.
Twitter.
I will continue to plug Michael Hanna and his project until I know for sure they're not going to be on our feed, or until maybe like the week after next. Other than that, they are our good friends. We love them to death, and we wish them well. If you want to interact with the show, and of course we got some interaction today for you, first of all, you can email the show. whatsbruinshow@gmail.com. I have a couple emails from a longtime listener to read to when we get to our listener feedback segment. Also, you can tweet us at What's Bruin Show. Generally speaking, certainly during the games, the What's Bruin Show account is like 99.5% mine and like maybe 0.5% of Mike if he wants to plug something. The Mighty Bruins tweet, we are the Mighty Bruins, that is Mike's like final What's Bruin Show tweet before on game day.
Yeah.
And then I kind of take over from there, if you're wondering, right? And then during the week, it's ambiguous. It could be Mike, it could be me. But on game day, Mike is solidly at his Twitter of
Mike Regalado, LA, and
Representing
I
Bro.
do the Bruin reports, the
bro.
bro tweets during the game itself, just before and after. 95% me.
Yeah, so that's why so just to get an idea of who's talking to you out there, I am the What's Bruin Show account during the game, so please follow that. Mike is the Bro account a lot of the time.
Hi, bro.
And he's also the Mike account. Yeah, and if you want to get a hold, that's where he's at. Okay, so that's the Twitter. Instagram, it's also at What's Bruin Show, yada, yada, yada. Mike needs to teach me how to do Instagram because I seriously, I have no idea how to work that app. I'm old, I'm sorry. And also, the What's Bruin Show is on YouTube now. There's a bitch and slideshow to go along with the audio that you hear. So please, all you have to do on YouTube is search What's Bruin Show, and it'll come up. And we'd love it if you subscribe to that channel. That would help us out quite a bit. And then, of course, my favorite way for you to interact with the show is to call the hotline. The hotline number is 805-399-4WBS.
Suck it, Reign of Troy.
Suck it, Reign of Troy, indeed. And, yeah, we got more calls. I had a ton of post-game calls, and I really appreciate you guys. We also had a few more calls that didn't make it in by the deadline for me to do the post-game show, and we'll play those tonight. And so, look, it's the football season, certainly my favorite time of the year. We want to interact more with y'all, and so whether that's on Twitter, whether that's via email, or whether that's on the hotline, Suck It, Reign of Troy, that's what we're here for. So that's wonderful. And go Bruins, and hopefully we're looking at a nice, fun football season. And let's get on to talking about the games because, Mike, you don't have any Bro-affiliate headlines, do you?
No.
All right, well, let's get on with it then. Mike, of course, reporter for Bruin Report Online. But let's get on with this MJ edition with the game that was.
The MJ edition.
That was.
Blue 32, Blue 32, California, California, football.
All right, UCLA played its first game of the season, defeating the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers 27-13 at the Rose Bowl. It was a little tighter, a little later than I think pretty much any fan or anybody associated with UCLA really wanted. But it was all good by the end of the game. It was a pretty nice, it was pretty fun fourth quarter. I would say, with the Bruins stretching the lead out and stretching their legs a little bit and sacking that quarterback Grayson McCall quite a few times down the stretch. So all in all, when you look at a team that is from the Sun Belt that has been pretty darn good a number of years in a row, but that was also going through a lot of transition. I didn't think they were going to lay down to the Bruins.
No.
I thought they'd be excited to come play on the West Coast in the Rose Bowl, and it looked like they were. Still, with that being said, it seemed like a lot of the things that made the game, that gave the Bruins adversity, in my view, was a lot of self-inflicted stuff and stuff that was just due to the situation. The situation being, on offense, you didn't really know who the quarterback was going to be. On offense, you didn't know who the running backs rotation was going to be. Like, you have a lot of new pieces to fit in after we're bidding due to Zach Charbonnet, DTR, and all the other Bruins that departed from last year. And so if you were going to tell me this is how the game was going to go, like, obviously we predicted big wins and covers, but I wouldn't have been surprised by this result either, and turns out we weren't. Mike, I did my post-game. If you want to listen to that, there's a good hour of post-game talk for it in your feed or right behind this episode. But you were busy working.
Yeah.
Hey, bro.
Hi, bro.
So give me your just first thoughts on the game.
After, stepping back and assessing what it was, which was basically game one of this new series of a new roster, A lot of things needing to be feeled out, I guess, best way to put it, as you go forward, because I don't want, I know everybody hated the whole he's workshopping the non-conference so that he's ready for the conference season. That could be it. I mean, especially with 2/3 quarterbacks potentially in the mix, you need to find out how they perform in a game type situation. And I don't think, and Chip alluded to this as well, is like, there's still some analyzing to be done with those quarterbacks. He even talked about how he didn't even get Colin Schlee in, and he's going to try to do that this next game.
He guaranteed it.
And it was funny. Like I put this out on Twitter just because, theories and stuff like that. Like, I don't think it'll happen, but it would also not surprise me if in the next game, Dante Moore starts and Schlee comes off the bench and Garbers is quarterback 3. And then in game 3, Schlee starts with Garbers coming off the bench and Moore is, QB 3. Obviously, a little bit, it's a little bit chaotic theory, but we've seen weirder stuff with Chip Kelly.
We have seen weirder stuff. I would be flabbergasted if that's how it laid out. Like, I still think this is a 2-horse quarterback race, right? It's going to be. It started with Garbers in the lead, getting the first snap, and it seems like, and we'll talk about it more, but it seems like Moore has taken the lead, and then I still think that Schlee is going to be in there just to kind of see what the Schlee can do.
Yeah.
And but it'll be more isolated into like special packages type situation. But I mean, you think, Mike, that if you're just or I should say it like this, if you're just going by what Chip Kelly says, he literally is saying that it's a 3-person race. So yeah, Mike, what Mike's saying is, don't be surprised if he actually is just saying what it is. Yeah. Although that's not how everybody's reading it, right? I don't think anybody, so that's what it is. So as far as the actual game though, Mike.
As far as the game, I think just not having a set quarterback and especially all 3 the 2 that we saw, just waiting for their turn or trying to figure out what they're doing. And then, once you make a mistake, it's like, oh, I made a mistake. Does that mean I'm out? I think that gave the offense a little bit unbalanced in the first half. Garbers did a good job with that first touchdown on that drive.
It took him 2 minutes.
And if he would have continued that, that would have been a good audition for his for solidifying him QB1. But then he has 2 very bad interceptions, both of them within the 20-yard line. One that was in the end zone and the other that was, I think, at the maybe 12-yard line. And that one he just threw it up to try to, get it to the receiver on the sideline, but it was nowhere near. And you can't have that. Chip Kelly, when asked what is he looking for in quarterbacks, and he goes, we just want to win. Well, if you want to win, you can't have that. So, and Moore didn't help himself out either because he had an interception, which is very similar to Garbers. But, I was thinking, well, maybe you can just say it's freshman jitters. But at the same time, he did this exact same thing as Garbers. You can't do that. If you want to win, you have to limit those mistakes. And he said it in the postgame presser, too, that whenever he got pressured after that, that's why we saw some of those balls just go flying out of bounds, because he was trying to do that on that interception, and it just didn't happen. So when he was getting pressure and he saw nobody, he was just making sure it got into, like, row 20. Just so it's there's no question that nobody's going to get next to it. But either way, I trying to wrap this up really quickly. I think they did a little bit better. They calmed down in the second half. And I think what really helped them, and maybe they fed off each other, was the fact that the defense started to come alive in the second half. They did okay. They still, what did they allow? 229 passing yards? What was that? Yeah, 229 passing yards, which is still not good. But they also only allowed, 56 rushing yards. Okay, good balance there.
Well, and the one thing I will say is that they only give up an average of like 6.7 yards per attempt, which is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
That's and they had been around like 7.3. So we'll see if they we're going to talk about San Diego State soon, but San Diego State can't pass the ball at all, so that number's probably going to get better. But if the Bruins can be somewhere in the high sixes on yards per attempt, that's probably pretty good for the defense, even if there were frustrating moments, right?
Yeah.
And, the frustrating moments, generally, those came from them trying to corral Pinckney, who is a pretty good receiver, but you're darn sure, we can rest assured they're going to be facing multiple receivers like that throughout the conference season.
Oh, God, yeah.
So, yeah, if they can't figure out how to be a little better, and taking guys away a little bit, it could be tough with pass coverage. And what I noticed on some of that coverage, it was, and the touchdown drive was really where, to me, it was the most criminal, and it had 3 bad plays by Humphrey. There's really no way to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, I thought about that too, and then he kind of made up for it with that interception.
Well, I think
that was a key interception.
He absolutely made up for it with that. Like he got that one back, and
that was a difficult catch too.
But thinking about that drive, no, that was a great catch by Humphrey on the on the sideline. I'm glad he didn't get overturned. But that to me, that made up a lot of the. But it made up a lot in the game. But going forward, like, he's going to have to be better. But on that touchdown drive, that was where it really was bad, because he misses Pinckney. He gets burnt on a play. I think it was a 3rd down play.
Yeah.
And then Coastal runs the ball. It was like a sweep to the left, and he completely whiffs on taking down the running back for probably like a 3-4 yard gain. And he ends up, that's that big run they had down the sideline. That was the biggest run of the game, and that was directly off of a missed tackle he had. And then he gives up the touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. To me, that was the least bad play of the bunch. Like, he had fairly tight coverage, but then Pinckney makes a good play on like a fade, but it's just like bam, 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 and all of a sudden the Chanticleers have pulled within 1, and that, talking about the Bruins kind of screwing up the middle 8, right? They give up the field goal right before the half.
Yeah.
And then they give up the touchdown on the opening drive.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the game is changed for pretty much the entire 3rd quarter, especially when you take into account that, Garbers has the ball for the entire 3rd quarter and struggles in the second half. So that really, other than that, like, you're going to have guys that you have a hard time covering, and, certainly the Bruins coverage could be better.
Yeah.
But you saw as the game goes on how they can equalize that a little bit. And if the Bruins are getting pressure with, without having to blitz all the time, that's going to make it much easier on the secondary. And I think that's where the strength of the defense has to come from, right?
Yeah.
They have to be able to pressure the ball. They have to be able to really put the quarterback under duress. And then your defense is going to give up some plays, but hopefully it'll be limited by that, right?
Yeah. And the one thing, what made it, especially in the second half, what made it seem like, okay, this is probably not going to end well for UCLA, is the fact that the Chanticleers come out and score that touchdown and then possess the ball for 12 minutes of the 3rd quarter.
Yeah,
which it did. Going into the 4th quarter, that just extended. It was funny. You know how they do the light show between the 3rd and 4th quarter? I'm thinking to myself, no, we're not doing this. You haven't earned it.
Oh, Mike, that's one of my sticking points. Now, my thing is, if it's a close game, then go for it. The one that really burns me is when the Bruins are down by 20 and they're doing the light show. It's like, come on, know the moment, right?
Yeah.
The close game, you're just like, you want to get the crowd pumped up, I guess.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, they hadn't earned it to that point.
Like, you haven't earned it. But no, I get the tradition too, and I actually do really like it. It looks really cool at night. But just having that heaviness, that weird feeling like, oh, this could be bad for UCLA. And it kind of clouded, at least the first few minutes of the 4th quarter, when UCLA was actually doing good. They were moving the ball again, and the defense was just suffocating the Chanticleers. I mean, the fact that McCall has, what was the number, like 8 interceptions in his career, and this is the first time he's thrown 2 in a game.
Yeah.
So that was huge.
And they forced a fumble. He had 3 turnovers.
Yeah. And then, 4 sacks, 3 from Latu, 1 from, was it Gabriel or Grayson? One of the Murphys got a sack. It was like, this whole game was positive and negative, roller coaster, up and down. You have the defensive line going off sides, but then they're getting sacks and, forcing fumbles. 3 interceptions by UCLA's quarterbacks, but they're leading them, on touchdown drives. It just wasn't consistent. I think they felt a little bit better. They were in their groove in the second half, especially that fourth quarter. But that's what they need to do from now on.
I think a lot of it, too, is related to how well the offense is playing, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
Bruins were getting stops. And by the way, they only gave up 13 points, and 10 of the points were in that middle eight, the last drive of the first half
Yeah.
and the first drive of the second half. And but we can't forget that even though this Coastal offense was a new offense for them, it still was a very veteran-laden group, and they had been able to put up a lot of points throughout the last couple of years. And so you have to give them the Bruin defense a little credit for that too. They're not going to shut them down completely, but I thought they shut them down to a large degree. Now, there was a couple, I think if you would ask any fan coming out of that game what was the most annoying part about the defense and what had you steamed at the half, number one was the pass coverage where they couldn't get a hold of Pinckney, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to say, there's a drive in the first quarter, and Pinckney gets over the top on the Bruins. There's a drive in the second quarter. It's just kind of loose coverage. Kirkwood's not covering him, right? And these are conversions that they're making to keep Coastal on the field. But the other thing that kept Coastal on the field in the first half were the darn offsides calls, right?
Yeah.
And so you had one in the first quarter, one in the second quarter, 3 in the third quarter, and 1 in the fourth quarter, and it just got kind of ridiculous, right? That's something that hopefully they can fix. I will tell you this about the offsides calls.
Yeah, 8 penalties to 3 for Coastal.
Yeah, and then they had a lot of offsetting stuff, right?
Yeah.
But as far as just the offsides, because there were so many of them in this game, I will say the ones in the first half, they must have got yelled at in the second, at halftime, obviously, because the ones in the first half, they were aggressively offsides and they weren't stopping, right? A couple of those plays, they actually hit McCall. Like on the second one, it was in the second quarter. Toya jumps off, breaks through the line, tackles McCall, and they're like, okay, no, it's 1st and 5. But he still tackled McCall, right?
Yeah.
And that was a big deal because by the end of this game, what do we know about McCall? He's a good quarterback, but his uniform was completely muddy. He's bleeding by the end of the first half, like on his hand or whatever. They were hitting him hard.
He did some
taking it to him.
emotional damage to him.
That's what I'm saying, though. But that's important. Like that's going to be the strength of this team, right? The first 3 offsides calls, they were even when they jumped, but they kept going, and I think 2 of the 3 they hit McCall, which is terrific, right? Mm-hmm. In the second half, they had 3 more or 4 more, or whatever. No, 3 more. It was the type of, you could tell they got yelled at and they were kind of like trigger shy because they would jump off, and then those are the ones where they kind of took a step and then they jump back, kind of thing, getting caught offsides. Those ones I thought were much worse because they weren't being aggressive at that point. If you're going to be offside, you might as well continue being aggressive and maybe be able to smack McCall one more time. In the second half, they did it. They did not hit him at all. And on those plays, like 2 of the offsides in the second half were declined because the Bruins jumped off and then got discombobulated, stopped playing, and then that allowed Coastal to make a big play out of it.
Yeah.
I think both those plays, 2 of the 3 offsides in the second half, Coastal made like 10 or 12-yard plays out of them just because the Bruins stopped playing. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to jump offsides, keep freaking playing, guys. And who knows, you may get a free shot on the quarterback even if you're going to get penalized. So that's kind of like the silver lining on that in the first half, but a really bad thing in the second half. The other thing I'll point out, Mike, and this is after I reviewed the game yesterday and today, but the pressure. I already talked about how dirty McCall was by the end of this game. And that's a great thing. And it's because they got so much pressure on him throughout the dang game. Did you see it was like the PFF number? It was that.
The most pressures.
Do you remember
amongst the team?
Remember how much it was?
I don't remember, but they're number 1 in the country.
Yeah, right. I mean, they really got after it, right?
Yeah.
That is what you need. But the really cool thing about this was, at the end of the game in the fourth quarter, I tweeted this out, but Latu had 3 sacks, and he had a fumble forced.
Yeah.
And on all 3 of those plays, they were only sending 4 guys. And basically, on one of them, him and a Murphy twin met at the quarterback. That's the one that he fumbled on. And then the other 2, he just beat the guy right off the line.
Yeah.
The Bruins did blitz quite a bit in this game, like at different times, but it was kind of, they tried to mix it up and be unpredictable. And sometimes they, and they were sending different guys, like they sent a nickel blitz at one point, and they did some other things. But this team can be a pretty darn good defense if they're able to generate that pressure and not have to do it every time by sending multiple extra extra defenders. And this game, they got an A+ in that respect. Especially, like I said, by the end of the game, McCall, it's not a coincidence that the Bruin defense, I think, was able to shut down Coastal completely at the end of this game. Because, once they got a little bit of a lead, and we'll get to the offense in a minute, but once more through that second touchdown pass, now all of a sudden they have whatever it was at that point. It was 24-13, right?
Yeah.
No, it's 21-13.
Yeah.
It's 21-13. And from that point forward, then it's 24, and then it's 27-13 or whatever. But they're able to now play much more freely because the time's running out. Coastal kind of has to pass, and they just pin their ears back, and they got after it. So that was a really good part of this game for the Bruin defense.
Yeah, and I did this. I started doing this an extended version of my post and pregame videos, the Mike's 2-minute drill, and I did one right before this, and I said we were going to expand on it. But my key takeaway is the fact that UCLA's defense was much better than their offense in this game. And when the hell was the last time we saw that? It's been forever since the defense had a better game than the offense.
Yeah,
and I mean, whatever. You have to attribute it to the fact that the defense is just junior and senior laden. They have something to prove. That they have new coaches. While the offense under Chip Kelly, which I think is still going to be good when it's all said and done, is
we saw some really good moments for the offense.
Oh yeah. More freaky formations. Chris Osgood was sitting next to me, and we were talking about it. He goes, "We're not seeing a lot of new stuff," which that. Kind of par for the course, non-conference. Chip Kelly's not going to go deep into the playbook, especially with a lot of new guys, with trying to juggle 2 or 3 quarterbacks, 2 or 3 different running backs. You got to go with what these guys know and keep it simple for now, despite the fact that everything he does is pretty. It's a difficult system. We've been hearing that all fall camp, especially from the new guys. The transfers is like, well, yeah, this offense is, whew. But a lot of the guys are getting it, and I think they just needed this first game to really put it to use. And now I think we're good. I think we'll still see some
growing pains.
Yeah. That's probably the best way to say it. But we should also see a lot more explosive plays, a lot more highlights, a lot more just guys getting comfortable with the offense.
Well, and there is a reason why the offense was herky-jerky, right? And that's because they're trying to figure out who the quarterbacks are and who the running backs are and all that stuff. So, I mean, that part is explainable. But there are some things that we saw from the offense that were just like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And we'll get to more to that in a minute as we switch from talking about the defense to the offense. But, I mean, really, the last thing I want to leave you with, no matter how you felt about that defense halfway through the game, these are the fourth quarter drives after Moore throws that touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
Coastal goes 3 and out, then they throw a pick, then they go 4 and out, and then they have a fumble. And these are, forced fumble by the Bruins. The Bruins did a really good job overall in this game defensively, right? Just, by really any metric you want to look at other than the offside penalties, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they can play like this, the Bruins, that bodes for a pretty good season for the Bruins defensively and as a whole, because I think we're correct in assuming that the offense was below what it will be in a typical game once they figure out what they need to figure out.
Yeah.
Now switching over to the offense, though, right? They put up 27 points or whatever it is, and after the first 2 minutes of the game, they only scored 20 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Garbers scored on the first 2 minutes. It was very herky-jerky to a degree, and it seemed like, Mike, you kind of mentioned it already, I think, but as soon as Garbers threw that first pick, I think the wheels were turning a little too much for him, and I think that he felt, he throws the pick, and then he come up dry on the next drive, and then Moore comes in and immediately drives down the right field for a touchdown, and that just kind of changed the dynamic that Garbers was kind of dealing with, and it really flipped the pressure onto him to perform, and at least in this game, it doesn't seem like he stepped up. Now, he wasn't helped by some of his worst moments were aided by moments in which the offensive line decided to give up some free rushers, give up some pressure.
Yeah.
And so that was something that's not Garber's fault. And yet one of his picks came off of a pressure where
right in
an
his
offensive
face.
line, and not just off of a blitz, just a guy just got beat and all of a sudden Garbers is dealing with pressure, and he throws the ball up. That's the one that floated towards the north end zone,
Yeah.
and it was picked off. Just kind of like it looked like Larry Brown in the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl.
You throwing this
20
to?
years.
Jesus Christ.
But it's because he's like getting tackled as he throws it, right? So
Yeah.
that part didn't help. That, but it's like when you look at how Moore comes in to perform, and then those are the circumstances, and it's not good for Garbers, but that just kind of is what it is. You know? And so that part was tough. What were the storylines that you heard coming out of this game, other than the obvious of the starting quarterback situation? But what were the kind of the takeaways that you've been hearing about the offensive line or the skill players or the running back room or all those things? And then we'll get to the quarterback situation at the end.
Well, it's weird just because we're talking about what happened with the offense, and we want to get detailed about it because that's what we do here on this podcast, 10 years strong. We have not yet mentioned the baller that is J. Michael Sturdivant. Like, my God, this kid.
He's just a baller, man.
When he was running that route from Moore, for Moore's second touchdown pass, it looked like he was just kind of like just strolling along. Then all of a sudden he kind of pulled away, and then I thought the defender was like right with him, and then he kind of stumbled, caught it, and just boom, right in the end zone.
When you watch that TV, it's just catching the stride. When I was watching the Rose Bowl, it's like he's running away from me, and it's like, is it going to do it? Is he? Oh my God, he got it, and now he's gone.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I thought he was going to get tackled too.
And there were several good connections between Moore and Sturdivant. And again, if you want to win, that's one of the things Chip Kelly has to look at. Like, what are the connections that are really going to help this out? Whose chemistry is going to formulate these into wins? It's Sturdivant is just, he's going to take this passing game to another level, and I believe Kyle Ford is too. He didn't get in as much as Sturdivant did,
but he caught two in a row in the first. Garbage hit him twice in a row in the first quarter, I think.
Yeah, and it's weird because we didn't even see the full arsenal of the receiving game. We didn't see Cam Brown. We didn't see Titus. Logan Loya had some really good catches.
Cam Brown was the target on, I think, Moore's interception. But yeah,
that was. I was like, who are you throwing it to over there? What's going on over there? But yeah, no. J. Michael Sturdivant is just nuts. Like, looking at his game film from last year is like, okay, he's good. Seeing it happen in blue and gold, in front of you, it definitely changes the mindset of the UCLA fan to where, wow, we could have a really good passing game. Now who's going to throw to him?
Well, that's what you need to figure out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, it's funny though, because as far as, like I said, I want to talk about the quarterback thing at the end, really, but I'll get to the offensive line, because one of the things that I heard and I kept seeing on Twitter and as people are talking about in the moment in the game, and just sitting in the crowd, you kind of hear the gurgling and the bubbling about the offensive line. So there was a lot of talk about the pressure, right? And the pressures that happened in the game, both on Garbers and on Moore. And when I went back and rewatched, I did count 11 times when the quarterback got pressured on some sort of play where you're supposed to throw it, right? And my conclusion, I tweeted this out today, Mike, on the What's Bruin show feed, but of the 11 pressures, 5 were on the offensive line, 2 were on the running backs. Like, one of them is, and one of them's TJ Harden, and one of them is Carson Steele. The one that Carson Steele had, basically there's a blitzer coming in. He goes to pick him up. He picks the right guy to pick up, and then he just gets crumpled by the guy because the guy hits him too hard, and so that ends up pressuring. I think that was a Garber's play. And then the one on TJ was a guy just beat him off the edge, just went right around him, and then I think that pressured more. So 2 were on the running backs. 1 was on Moore, whereas he drops back in the pocket and the center gets pushed backwards kind of into his face. But he could have sat there, or he could have ran out to the right. Instead, he runs to the left and he runs right into a tackle.
Yeah.
Right. And then 3 were just calls where the defense sent too many guys. There weren't enough guys to block. And so there was pressure generated. Like, 3 are unblameable. And I think on 2 of them, the quarterback made the right play and just got rid of it. And the other one, he threw the ball and I think it, like, I don't know what happened to it. But so of those 11 pressures, 5 of these were solidly on the offensive line. And the thing is that from my count, it was a bunch of different guys that, on one play, In fact, it was really sad because the one that I think Garbers throws the pick on, Spencer Holstridge gets turned like a turnstile on the interior line, and then Garbers gets hits, he throws, it's a touchdown. There's another one like on the next drive where Jake Wiley gets turned like a turnstile on the interior, and Garbers gets hit. Those are the ones that you cannot have.
Yeah.
You can't have pressure coming up the middle off of a guy that just gets beat. That's the play that, if you're a guard or a center, you can't have that at all, because that's the quickest way you're going to get your quarterback killed, or you're going to cause the quarterback to make a really bad play, right? So those are the two that were the most troubling to me. There were a couple plays where Bruno Fina got beat off the edge, and those are a little less, I don't want to say dangerous, because you see what Latu does off the edge, right?
Yeah.
A little bit less concerning to me, even though they're still very dangerous plays. So Fina with a couple, Holstridge with one, Wiley with one, and then the other one was Kadir Kunta was in there for a game, and he got beat off the edge as well too. And on that one, he actually held the guy, but they didn't call it because Moore ends up getting sacked. That's the one where Moore kind of runs right into the defender, right? So as far as the offensive line goes, certainly room for improvement. I don't think it was as bad as people were saying, because some of the times, what you have to understand is that Coastal was sending a lot of dudes a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And whether they were zone blitz or whether it was, but they were sending, more often than not, I'm counting, they sent 5 that time. They sent 6 that time. They sent 7 that time. If they send 7 guys and there's a pressure, that's not the offensive line's fault, generally speaking. Okay, so get that out of your brain.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's just no way to avoid the pressure because there's just too many guys. And that's when the quarterback's got to make the good decision. And that's one of those things where, too, I noticed they were sending 7 a lot more against Moore, and that's very, very natural because you have a new, inexperienced guy out there. What are they going to do? They're going to blitz him. So we should get used to seeing that.
Yeah.
That's something where when we talk about next week against the Aztecs, that's where it could go sideways or wrong for the Bruins, is that the Aztecs, I think, have a much better defense. And if Moore and Garbers or whoever's out there playing quarterback aren't making quick decisions, it could be a long game in that respect.
Yeah.
And so hopefully they can run the ball and mitigate some of that. That's what I think we're seeing.
Well, really quickly about running the ball, what are your thoughts on how Carson Steele and T.J. Harden performed, both who had exactly 76 yards?
Yeah, they did, and I thought they both looked good in moments. I think T.J. looks a little liver out there, as far as like the athleticism and all that stuff, and just how he was hitting the hole, and he's a little more shifty.
Yeah.
What I thought Steele did better at the beginning than he did at the end was, it seemed like he wasn't trying to run through dudes quite as much as I wanted him to. Like the one play in the first half when he tried to hurdle a dude. Like,
I didn't see that until I
put
saw
his
the
damn head
replay.
down
I was
and
like,
run
oh
through
my
that fool.
God, he flipped, like full-on flip.
I don't want to see Carson Steele trying to hurdle people.
Dude,
like
it's your
DTR.
first game. Easy.
Well, I want to see him like run through a dude, right?
I do.
So,
I think it was in the first quarter when he got the ball. He put his head down and he was stopped. I think he maybe got, just because of his momentum, he only got like 1 or 2 yards after contact. But the guy that he hit, got it right square in the chest.
yeah.
Like, he went backwards.
Well, and that's what I said. I saw a couple of those plays, and I'm like, yeah, this guy's going to be good. And I think it's a good. Potentially, it could be a very good match, right? Because you have Steele, who is going to be this, for his size, his strength, he's going to be a guy who's not going to lose yards, generally, I think, most of the time. And no matter what, he's going to get 3, 4, 5 yards. And it's kind of like how Britton Brown was. What could Brown do for you?
Yeah.
And that's not to say that Brown couldn't bust big plays. But how many times do you remember Britton Brown getting out in the open field running, and then all of a sudden some dude would catch him from behind?
Yeah.
I remember at least 3 or 4 plays like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Steele's top end speed is, but I don't think it's as good as Harden's is. And I think we're going to see Steele, it's going to be really fun to watch him plow dudes. I think that's something that potentially could be there. And on the other side, Harden, I think he's a strong runner too, but I think he's a little more shifty, and I think it really is a good dynamic to have both of them running. I really don't feel like we need to pick one over the other. Obviously, one's going to get used a little bit more in the other, probably.
Yeah.
But I think both of them show me some good signs. If you're in a game where you actually can call the game how Kelly wants to call in a typical game, I'll bet you they get a lot more carries. But this is a game where they're trying to figure out who the quarterback's supposed to be, right? And so I think that kind of also made it to where Kelly's actual game script wasn't what it normally would be. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? so we'll see. I'm real curious to see how they look once we end a conference play. Because you talk about San Diego State, they're probably going to I don't know. I imagine they're probably going to run more against San Diego State just because, like I said, that defense, San Diego State, looking ahead, they already have 6 picks, and they have they have 1 pick that doesn't count that they took back for a touchdown. So, I mean, they're going to try to confuse the Bruins, the Bruin quarterbacks, with their weird defense. We'll get to that more in a minute. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little more run heavy next week just because of the opponent, right? Okay. Well, with that being said, you talked about the big baller who certainly was J. Mike. That was super fun to see him. We got something out of the running backs. But the most obvious thing to talk about when you talk about the Bruin offense this week was the quarterback competition, right? So, going into next week, or just what are your thoughts on what the competition was in this game and looking forward to next week? Like, where are you landing on this? Are you still, or I mean, I don't know if you still are or not, but are we Team Garbers? Or are we Team Do You Want More?
I think just with the confidence and just his arm, just showed that if he had jitters, didn't really show it. He
Certainly
had that one errant interception, but other than that, he looked pretty solid. Like even when they were running the ball, he knew exactly where to go, where to turn, who to hand it off to. It'd be interesting to see more. I mean, this just hit me right now, but like if he's doing like read options and stuff like that, that's going to be interesting to see how he does over time with that. Is he going to be able to dissect defenses? Is he going to be able to notice when someone's coming off the edge and to hold it or give it to the running back? But overall, it's just in that little bit of time, he didn't even have a full game, but in that little bit of time, he just looked like the better quarterback to me.
He just looked like, I mean, really, it was kind of like a natural type of thing,
Yeah.
And it's funny, dude, because I wonder how much different it would have been if Garbers doesn't throw that first pick, because it really does seem like it changed right there.
Yeah.
But from that point forward, he couldn't get anything going, and it was just such a shame, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Incidentally, on that first pick that Garbers threw, he ends up, they're near the goal line, the Coastal drops 8, and Garbers probably could have ran it. Garbers had a guy going towards the Coastal sideline. He ran like a in and out route, or a slam route, but he ends up trying to go over the middle to Cam Brown. He's the one who was throwing to Brown, and there was like 6 defenders right there in that proximity.
Yeah.
But as soon as that happens, it's like it robbed all of his chi, And then what was a double smack was he comes out there again for one more drive, I think, and then Moore gets out there for the 4th drive and just, bam, big play to Sturdivant, bam, big play to Steele, and they're in the end zone, and everybody's celebrating, and it's just like, it just looked like a natural.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have the second half where Coastal almost ties the game up. It's 14-13. Garbage gets the ball. He struggles. And then, oh, gee whiz, Moore comes in and one play all the way.
Yeah.
Touchdown. And at that point, like the national broadcast is saying it. You look at all the national media, like the day after, if UCLA got any sort of mention at all, it was, oh, it looks like Dr. Moore's got the job. It's like there's so much momentum now in that box. And that doesn't mean that Kelly's going to be influenced by that. It means, I mean, would you be flabbergasted if Ethan Garbers started the game next week?
No.
I'd be surprised. But like you said earlier, Mike, there's no telling what Chip Kelly will do.
Yeah.
But it just seems like that's where it's all pointed, right?
Yeah.
Although I'll bet you Garbers still has a chance. I bet you Garbers still plays against San Diego State, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not a close competition.
No.
But now it's like Moore's got the leg up. And Mike, I talked about it on the postgame, and I want to know what you thought. What your thought about it is. Do you think that now that Moore is kind of in the pole position, whenever Garbers makes a mistake, it's going to be people screaming if he's in there, do you want more, right? That's pretty much what the refrain will be.
And that's
but if Moore makes a mistake, then it's like, oh, how cute, he's a frosh.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
yeah. Like, it's unfortunate. It's not fair, but when is football ever fair? Right now, if Garbers wants that job, he needs to be like better than perfect. He needs to.
Right. And that's a tough standard.
That is very tough. Yeah.
But maybe he seizes it, because guess what? Or I'm sorry, Mike, I don't want to cut you off.
Oh no, I was just going to add that, like, he knows the offense. He saw what DTR can do. He's been here for a while.
Yeah.
He needs to step up now.
No, and it's funny too. He needs to be perfect. Now he just basically needs to do what Moore did, right? Because let's assume that Moore starts against SDSU. Let's assume that Moore isn't perfect again, because if Moore comes out and Garbers comes in and the score is 20-0 Bruins.
Yeah.
There's probably not a whole lot Garbers is going to be able to do anyway, right? Yeah. Like at this point, or I guess that's what we hit upon, right, Mike? I think. Do you agree with the statement that if Ethan Garbers is going to win the quarterback job for UCLA at this point, like going into the first game, if Ethan Garbers played really well, it was probably his job to lose, at least for the time being. Is that a true statement?
Yeah.
But now it's like, if Ethan Garbers is going to win the quarterback spot for the Bruins after game one, it's going to have to be at least partially because do you want more fails in some way?
Yeah.
Right? Like, Moore's got to do something to lose it again, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at. And I think that's definitely, I said earlier, like, even if you're not super happy with the herky-jerky nature of this offense in game one, at least we've picked up one data point and we know something. Or we shouldn't say we know something. We don't know anything when it comes to Kelly.
Yeah.
But we can guess that that's probably what it is. Because that makes the most sense.
Yes.
Right? All right. Mike, do you have anything left on this particular game before we get to the little segment I recorded with Bill, who is watching 14-year-olds play volleyball right now? I'm sorry, watching 14-year-olds practice volleyball right now.
And 2 of them are his sons, so.
Well, that part's an excuse. I love you, twins.
But no, one game, a lot to talk about, like in different areas of the game. And yeah, I think we did a good job hitting on it. So
was there any fallout as far as like going to practice the day after or whatever? Like,
No.
Did we figure out why we had a Sunday practice after a Saturday night late night game?
According to Kelly, that's what's scheduled, and that's what they're going to do from now on. So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
No
So
idea.
okay,
It's just a new thing.
because that is kind of weird. Like you finish a game like close to midnight, and all of a sudden you're on the practice. What time would you have to be at practice?
It was a 3 p.m. practice.
Oh,
which is
never mind.
weird because it's.
I thought it had to be.
I thought it
was
would be
in
a
the
morning too, and
Yeah.
then I was like, yeah, I'll go to practice. Wait, it's at 3 p.m. Oh, I had to redo my Sunday. That was the worst part. I mean, I didn't have much to do, but I had stuff to do, so I'm like, all right, everything I was going to do in the afternoon, now I have to do in the morning.
I actually don't mind that. Then the players, they have a late night plan, but then they can sleep in and then get up and kind of stretch it out, and obviously get a little bit of work in. Probably a very light practice, relatively speaking. But okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, let's get to what Bill had to say about this game. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. There was a little overlap in the conversation based on what me and Mike just talked about, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Here's Bill. All right, so 1/3 of the What's Bruin show will be unavoidably detained when we normally record. So I am recording this the day before, a couple days after UCLA beats the Coast Carolina Chanticleers 27-13. We've already talked about it a little bit during the show, but this is just kind of coming in out of order. I have one William Henry, Shirley the Shirt. Ugh. Just fucking thing. I have William Henry Shirley III with me now in studio.
What's going on, guys?
Bill, nice to see you. So you watched the game. I'll give you a
did.
chance to talk about the game as you're eating your salad after you just done a workout in my gym. And
Thank you for letting me come to the Merrifield fitness facility.
You're right.
Appreciate
It
that.
also doubles as the What's Bruin studio. So now you're getting what drink are you? What beverage are you picking, Bill?
Something with some caffeine. Diet Dr. Pepper.
That's the okay. Yeah, there's some caffeine in there. It's good. Anyways, you saw the game.
Yeah.
Me and Mike are going to talk about more, but what did you think about it?
I thought it was a typical starter UCLA game. This is the third season of sort of seeing this thing where Chip is just testing stuff out, seeing how things go, and sure enough, it went like we thought. It wasn't a nail biter like I forgot the team last year where UCLA
South Alabama,
where they won, where UCLA won by a field goal, or less than a field goal.
1 point.
Oh,
Yeah.
1 point. Thank you. It was a little bit more in tact by the second half, but man, it was still it was starts and stops, some frustration, some aha moments. So overall, like a typical first game.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I mean, the biggest thing obviously that comes out of this game is the quarterback controversy, and like I said, I'm sure Mike will give his call on it in a minute. It seems like now everybody's just like assuming there's going to be more going into San Diego State, but we don't know anything about that for sure. So I mean, what was your first of all? What did you think about how they played during the game? And then hold on. You came into the season saying, in fact, your bold prediction was Garbers is going to seize the job and keep it. And then we had this game, and certainly has a good start for Garbers, but it doesn't end well for him. And then when Moore comes in, he's like electric. So what are your thoughts on the whole quarterback situation at this point?
First, I want to give a shout out to Jake for his post game, because I listened to it, and there's a lot of good points in there. But
thanks, Bill.
And I'll get into one of those points in a second. But I think, just
hold on. You don't give me very many opportunities to play this, so I'm going to play this real quick.
Jake Merrifield made a lot of outstanding points.
Thank you, Hannah. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Keep
good.
going. Yeah.
But the idea is, I think it's a lot of hyperbole off of just one game. Okay, it's just like we're making a lot of snap judgments off of it. This is just them sort of trying to figure things out. I mean, Garbers was probably a little amped up, right? A little nervous for it to be his first start, not outside of him coming in for injury relief for DTR last season against Utah. This was just or season before, whatever that was. But this is just one of those games where you got to give it more than one game to make that kind of decision. Garbers looked pretty darn good his first drive and a half, right? And then
all the way down to the goal line.
All the way down to the goal line. Then the wheels sort of fell off, and then I tip my cap to Chip for allowing him to go back in there again, trying to get this guy some confidence. And it didn't go too well, but some of that was, God, the line was letting, they were doing a lot of blitzing, and a lot of those guys got through. His hit, it wasn't like it was he wasn't trying to throw an interception, but he got hit as he threw, so some of those balls went a little wonky.
Yeah.
So, just give him a shot. Will he, will my bold prediction come true? Probably not. But I'm still just saying, Let's give him a shot. Let's give him a little bit more time, more than one game. And let's not just crown Dante Moore. Did he look good in game one? Yeah, he looked good for a freshman coming out. He looked calm, relaxed. That's awesome. But
Go Bruins.
Are you just gonna poo-poo him?
That's Dante Moore.
That's Dante Moore.
Go Bruins.
Are you going to poo-poo him if against San Diego State he lays a huge egg and all of a sudden, no, forget it. Come on, let's just.
Well, that's what do you think of, because the way I was thinking about it is the reason I don't like this for Garbers anymore, and I don't really have a stake in this other than, before the season started, I was like, oh, we might as well play more. But if Garbers seizes the job and wins, I'll be more than happy for that too, right? It's just, I just feel like Garbers is going to be over his skis a little bit now, because no matter what, unless he's perfect, they're going to be like, oh, bring in the Frosh. But on the other side with Moore, it's like if he makes a mistake, it's like, oh, it's expected because he's a freshman, and like, oh, isn't that cute and that special, So like, how do you feel about the pressure dynamic now at this point? Because this didn't help Garbers, right? That first game did not help Garbers.
It did not help him, and it sucks. It's not a matter of fair unfair. No, it just sucks, right? It's one of those it
does kind of suck.
It kind of sucks for Garbers because it's like, God, I mean, it's just added pressure. But hey, listen, here's the bright side. You can look at it two ways. You can look at it as a roadblock or an obstacle to overcome. If you
sometimes,
look at this,
Bill, the obstacle is the way.
Exactly. And so if Garbers is able to pick up the pieces in game two with this added pressure and look good, I'm talking good, not just against San Diego, but then against South Alabama, because I'm assuming there's
not South Alabama, it's some other Alabama.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, southern something.
Northwestern Alabama.
Exactly.
Of the South Alabama, I don't know, whatever.
To the east of the bayou.
Yeah.
But either way, it could go a long way towards like, hey, even with this extra pressure, he's looking good. And it's not us making the decisions, right? Even though we have our amazing opinions, it is the coach. And I'm going to trust Coach Chip Kelly, especially on offense.
And by the way, we're both terribly Southernist.
Yeah.
We're playing NC Central, North Carolina Central.
That's still North Carolina's considered.
We're talking about Alabama, bro.
I know, but it's still the South.
Like we're like, no, North Carolina Central.
But you get what I'm saying, though. I mean, So, fair or not, I'm not looking at it as fair or not. I'm looking at it as he still has an opportunity, Garbers, to try to pick up the pieces. And I keep on saying pick up the pieces like he just totally failed. He didn't totally fail, but just do better in games 2 and 3. Okay.
Yeah. No, and he didn't totally fail. He just, it's just the narrative now is much different than it was, right? Mm-hmm. So people are certainly there. So okay. So other than the quarterbacks, we're not going to hear from you for another week after this.
Correct.
Who popped for you, and who are you looking to see more from? And what do you just before we talk about San Diego State?
Offensively, everyone's going to say Dante Moore, but offensively, I liked
who popped and who do you want to see pop more?
Yeah, well, okay. Who popped was Sturdivant. J. Mike Sturdivant was awesome. It's legit. It's cool to see. And once again, it's only one game, but it's cool to see a breakaway wide receiver like that with that kind of speed. God, and hands. I'm like, this guy is legit. On defense, I like Kamari Ramsey. I like seeing him making some open field tackles. I think our safety spot is going to be in good hands. And who would I like to see pop more? For selfish reasons, I'd like to see the Twins actually have a good season. They got out to another rough start with a lot of offsides.
Yeah, kicking my ass with the Twins, but I would really love to see them pop this year. All right. Well, San Diego State, we may or may not be there. Well, I'm going to be there. You may or may not be there.
Why would I not be there? Oh, because of what we talked about earlier. Okay, yeah.
Are you going to go?
If you are not credentialed, I will go. I just don't want to sit by myself just sitting there. No. But if you aren't credentialed and you still go, I'll go with you. And that's why I was asking about hotels so I could find a Marriott.
Well, I know. So are we going to go down there together, or what are we going to do?
Yeah, that's what I was hoping. I thought we could do together. Like, I'm assuming, leave the morning.
So I got to ride with you and all that. Yeah. You take your car?
No, we're not taking my truck. We're taking your car because that gas is out of control. I can't afford $5.
Incidentally, Bill's brother's over here right now, and I took him for a joyride up and down the hills of the North Valley. And with the express goal of using as much of Bill's gas as possible.
It's not hard in that truck.
Bill's got a pretty lit truck. So yeah, that's pretty good. But I had Pierre holding on for dear life for me.
Yes, he did.
It was good stuff. All right. So we'll see. I'm sorry. So did you ever answer the question? Like, what are you looking for out of the San Diego State game? I mean, you're talking about a team that's got
I'm looking
worse offense, presumably. Although we don't know how bad the Coastal offense will end up being, but they were certainly better personnel.
Okay.
And then but probably a much stiffer test on defense.
I'm looking for less penalties. Okay, less penalties. On offense, I'm looking for more of the same testing out. Give Garbers another shot. I'm not saying it's gonna. I just don't want it to go after one effing game.
So who should start though? Who should start?
I don't care.
No. I want you to tell me based on the first game, and based on to go in there with Garbers as starter.
I think
should
Garbers
Dante Moore be the starter, or should Garbers be the starter?
No. Say Garbers again, and let's see how he responds. This is. Remember, I look at this as from what we've learned from Chip Kelly that he really likes to test stuff out. So he probably wants to see in his head what's the mindset of Garbers.
So if he's testing, why wouldn't you start more then?
Because you want to see after a game, you want to see how does he respond. How does Dante Moore respond to not getting the starting job? I mean, both things can be measured.
Why don't you see? Well, you already saw how Dante Moore responds to not getting the starting job. You know what he does? He goes 4 for 5 in his first 5 throws, throws 2 touchdowns.
Okay,
and
let's see what happens. Let's see what happens
in
San Diego.
Why don't you start Dante Moore and see how Garbers does?
That is my logic.
At least that's another data point. No, I'm saying why wouldn't you do that?
Because I want to see all right, Garbers, even though you had a crappy game, I'm giving you another shot. How do you do?
All right. Well, fair enough.
All right, let's see what happens.
Let's see. Well, maybe you'll see me and Bill down there, and maybe you won't.
Well, you'll probably see Jake if he especially gets a credentials.
I'm going no matter what.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not Bill's going. So we'll see. All right. Well, good. All right, Bill. Continue your salad. It's nice seeing you.
Good seeing you too. Thanks for letting me come over. And my brother.
At some time. Okay. Good. No, it's very good to see you. I'm glad you brought P over. All right. We'll see you next time. All right. Bye. Bye.
Do you think we drink too much?
No, we don't drink too much. Men face reality. Women don't. That's why men need to drink.
I hate it when podcasters talk about what they're drinking.
What else am I going to drink, Bob? A fucking Fresca?
And thank you for joining the What's Bruin Symposium. Of course, the Symposium is a conversation over drinks, and that's what we're having right now. Mikey was having a beer earlier out of the fridge. What were you having, Mike?
Kona. Which one did I have? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on it, but you asked if I wanted a cocktail. I'm like, you know what? I think I do.
So I made a cocktail, and it came out a little different than it did the other day, but it's one of my favorite cocktails. It's called the Fall in Italy. I tweeted about it as the victory cocktail for this game over Coastal Carolina, and this is something that has a little bit of whiskey in it, and then it has a little bit of Cynar in it, which is Italian Amaro. Oh, and it has some lemon juice and some apricot Luxardo, which is pretty good, and it's like one of the only recipes I use it in. But it's good. It's really yummy. So if you want to make yourself a nice cocktail, fall in Italy. It kind of tastes sort of like a paper plane, only different. But that's what we're having tonight. Of course, you can don't drink along with the What's Bruin show if you're like in a car or something. But if you're at home enjoying, have a drink with us. But you can also support the show for how much a month, Mike?
$2.
Just $2 a month. You can send the What's Bruin Show into the future by supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/whatsbruinshow, or on the Substack. And I think it's whatsbruinshow.substack.com. And it's $5 over there. But whatever you want to throw at us, we will appreciate. We're not trying to get rich here, but we are an independent flagship, just an independent little ship just floating around the seas of Bruin sports talk. And we're not going anywhere, but you can show us.
We've been floating around for 10 years, so.
That you love us by giving us how much, Mike?
$2.
Just $2. That's all we're asking. $2 a month. And send the What's Bruin Show into the future. So cheers to the Bruins, and cheers to you, Mike, and cheers to you, Bill, and Jamaal, who aren't here.
And to you, too.
We are going to hear from
Jake.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. All right, well, let's get on with the show.
It's the game that will be. It's the game that will be, yo. It's the game that will be.
Well, it is the game that will be, and coming up, the Bruins are 1-0, and they're going to be going on a trip down south, down to San Diego. What does San Diego mean, Mike? This is when I wish Bill was here.
The Whale's
vagina. That's
lady
right, Mike.
parts.
Yeah. Whale's vagina from Anchorman, one of our favorite movies, at least one of mine and one of Bill's. Not one of Mike's, but
it is that one.
Oh wait, you actually like that one?
I do like that one. The second one is absolute garbage.
Oh yeah.
Just like Ricky Bobby, absolute garbage.
Fighting words. Anywho, I don't want to get sidetracked. The Bruins are going down to San Diego. They are favored at this point by.
Well, agree to disagree.
Sorry, Mike. UCLA is a 14.5-point dog again. Were they 14.5 point? Not dog, favorite. 14.5-point favorite again.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. This time, it's not the Chanticleers anymore. Now it's the Aztecs from San Diego State. They're going to Snapdragon Stadium. First time they will have played there. First time any of us will be in that stadium because it just got built. And this game will be at 4:30 p.m. on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Another prime time or another national game. This one's on CBS, the network stars. And the over-under on this game is
it 55?
48 and a half.
Oh, 48 and a half, okay.
48 and a half. And so the implied total for that, the implied score would be somewhere in the neighborhood of UCLA 31, San Diego State 17. So that's kind of where the betting lines are setting it. On ESPN, they have the Bruins as an 82.1% favorite as far as the victory goes. I didn't look up the Connolly numbers yet. Did they get released? Do you know what the old...
No, not so far. That's one that I look for every week. And last year, I don't think he did it every week. I think it was bi-weekly. Either way, I like that measurement, those metrics better than the FPI because like right now,
we like S&P Plus way better.
Yeah,
Cal
is ahead of UCLA in the FPI, and I don't know how they come up with the math for that. You know, and after a win, UCLA just dropped down 2 spots to 38 in the latest FPI. So, like,
yeah. Well, I think a large part of that though is because there was a lot of explosive offense in the pack and across the country, right? And the Bruins weren't nearly as explosive.
No.
But you're right though.
They were
FPI
efficient.
already didn't like the Bruins, and now it likes them a little bit less.
Yeah, exactly.
But, all right. Well, with that being said, anyways, let's get on with.
But her defense is good. Yeah, but your offense sucks.
Yeah. I mean, look, it was herky jerky. We have to say that. And by the way, we'll talk about Pac-12 talk in a minute. But Pac-12 undefeated. That's pretty crazy. Pretty darn crazy. But it's time for trivia.
Now it's time for Jake's Trivia, brought to you by Jake, bringing you all the coolest trivia of UCLA football's opponent for this coming week. And now, Jake.
So we got a lot to get to, so I will not do too much trivia. But, Mike, what is the name of the San Diego State Aztecs? What's their coach? Who's their coach?
Brady Hoke.
It's Brady Hoke. Now, was he the head coach when the Bruins had an embarrassing loss to San Diego State in 2019?
Yep.
He wasn't. He was their D-line coach.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because it was
Rocky Long, aged Rocky Long.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think the year after that, or that season, Brady Hoke took over for him. And this is Brady Hoke's second stint with the Aztecs. Of course, he was their coach led them to like a 9-win season, and then got hired away at Michigan, and that turned out to be one of Michigan's worst hires they've ever made, according to Michigan fans.
That was the first year was good, and then it just went down, down, down.
Thank you. Wait, what? Is that the drowning pool or something?
No, that was I don't know why, but that one of the songs from Revenge of the Nerds. You got to put one foot.
Oh,
in
reggae
front
song.
of the
Yeah, or
other.
like a ska tune.
No, it's just rock indie.
Is it?
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm totally lost the thread. Anyways, Brady Hook was their coach before, and then he wasn't, and now he is again. And he has taken the Aztecs to 2 straight bowl games. They've been if not an explosive offensive team, they've been a well-respected defensive team. That's kind of been their identity under Hoke. And it seems like after their first couple games this year, they're in that vein again. But we'll get more on that in a minute. Snapdragon Stadium, Mike.
No shade.
That's what we hear. I will
Take
give
a
a
hat.
report. Yeah.
Although it's a 4:30 kickoff, so it
should be okay.
It should be all right.
A nice San Diego weather.
You'll be fine.
On December 5th, 2019, the school announced the receipt of $15 million, a gift to help them refinance a new stadium. At that point, the thing was going to be named Basher Field at Aztec Stadium.
Whoa.
But since then, as they began construction, all that, and maybe they ran out of money or something, or they just decided to throw out the naming rights to bring in some extra money. Qualcomm, which used to be the name of the old stadium that was there, old Jack Murphy, ended up dying as Qualcomm Stadium. They went into naming rights with San Diego State University, and now the new stadium is Snapdragon. I don't know how much they paid for that, but it's Snapdragon. Which, do you know what Snapdragon Stadium relates to? I had no idea before today.
It sounds like it could be a brand of cashews.
Right? It could have been something, or like a landscaping product or something. Yeah. But it turns out it's the name of of Qualcomm's chip, one of their chips, computer chips. So it's named after a computer chip.
Oh, okay.
Who knew?
Okay, that's cool.
But there's worse. There's definitely worse. Like, I'm glad this wasn't. It's probably fortunate for everybody that there already was a Qualcomm stadium at that location, and they didn't want to confuse people by, just tearing it down and renaming it the same thing.
It's like, wait a minute, is this the same place?
Because I'd much rather play at a place called Snapdragon Stadium than Qualcomm Stadium.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a pretty snappy name, don't you think? Mm-hmm. So I'm in favor of that. I like that. So this turned out good. Last bit of trivia. Who does San Diego State play a trophy-laden rivalry game with? And if you know, what's the name of the rivalry? Don't overthink their rival. Think about their conference.
Yeah, that's
although they haven't always been in there.
Nevada? Or Fresno State. Fresno State.
Bing, ding, ding, ding. Good job, Mike. Go Bruins. Yes, they play against Fresno State, and it's the Battle of the Oil Can. And they have a little trophy that's related to an oil can. And I couldn't figure out, when they started the oil can rivalry, whether it was something that, Fresno State and San Diego State have a long-term rivalry.
Yeah.
It goes all the way back to 1923. They haven't always been in the same conference, but they have at some point. They have another, and they are right now. But this battle for the oil can, I couldn't figure out whether 100 years ago they found an oil can that apparently there's an oil can, like an old 1930s era oil can that was found on a construction site at San Diego State University. I don't know if it was the construction site for the arena or for the stadium or for something else that they were building. Obviously, they've rebuilt that whole university in the last 20 years. But at some point, they found an oil can that said it was from Fresno. I don't know how they tell that. I don't know what the origin of the can is. But they decided to call the rivalry that because the oil can trophy, and this is from the Wikipedia, comes from a 1930s era oil can hailing from Fresno that was found at a construction site at San Diego State. I just said that. And then quoting somebody from the university, the oil can likely came from a time when Aztec and Bulldog fans traveled to football games between the two schools via the old, twisting, precipitous grapevine section of the Highway 99 over the Tejon Pass. So instead of the grapevine that we know and love, we're just that very steep hill to go down where people have to use the runaway truck ramp and all that. This is back the old 99 windy grapevine road. So that's where this rivalry comes from.
Nice.
So hopefully you find that interesting. Other than that, I got nothing for you as far as trivia goes. So let's get on to the game that will be, which you already played the thing. Mikey, when you think about San Diego State, what are you thinking about how these teams will match up, or going to this game, what the Bruins need to do? Which was your first thoughts on this matchup?
They do not have a good offense
at all,
and as you said, their defense is it's what they have hung their hat on the last several years, and that seems to be that continues into this season. So it's going to be interesting to see what UCLA's offense can do against that defense, especially UCLA's running game, which wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. It wasn't like it has been the last 2 years. But they are going to be tested because, even though it's only been 2 games, and it has been against lesser opponents, San Diego State has only allowed 66.5 rushing yards per game. Now, I think UCLA is going to blow past that. They're going to get over 100 total rushing yards. But I also think that they have to really exploit the air and get Sturdivant into the game, get Cam Brown, Logan Loya, and really just, hit them from all sides. As far as, like I said, the San Diego State's offense is no bueno. So their defense, UCLA's defense, which flexed their muscles last week, has to continue to do that and definitely has to build off of it.
No, I think there's no doubt about it. And something to think about with the San Diego State team is they played 2 games so far this season. This is going to be their third. In the first game, they beat Ohio in a game where they played pretty well defensively. They won 20-13. They took out Ohio's quarterback. Ohio was a trendy pick to win that game, and San Diego, the Aztecs, were able to fight them off. But with that being said, like Mike, you just said, there just hasn't been a whole lot of offensive explosion from them at all. And they played last week against Idaho State, an FCS school, and they won that game 36-20, 20-something, and did not look terrific in that game either.
Yeah.
So 36-28 rather. So I mean, you're playing an FCS team, and I know that Idaho State scored 15 kind of in garbage time at the end, but still, it's 36-28, the final score on this game. And I want to say that combined over the first 2 weeks, San Diego State has like 250 yards passing. Like, that's not going to get it done for them. I want to say that their opening game against Ohio was marred by numerous holding calls by the offensive line, and I think some of those were on attempts where they were trying to pass. And if they're going to do that against the Bruin front 6 or 7, that could, that if they're doing that against Ohio, holding a lot, that probably bodes well for how the Bruin front matches up against the Aztecs, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. The Aztecs were outgained by Ohio, even after the Aztecs knocked out their quarterback. I think if Brady Hoke had his way, both teams this Saturday would have about 300 yards of offense, and there'd be a lot of punting, and it's going to be a close game down to the wire if it goes the way Hoke wants. I don't think there's any version of a world in which San Diego State blows out the Bruins because they're throwing it all over the field around like that. They're going to play it very close to the vest. They're going to rely on their defense to try to hold the Bruin offense down. And I don't know whether they're able to or whether the Bruin offense holds itself down. Like, that's where I think the danger point in this game lies.
Yeah.
It's not in getting, blown off the field like Oregon scoring 80 points, right? I don't think that's a world that – I don't think there's a version of the San Diego State team that could do that.
Yeah.
But if they're in a slugfest at the end, San Diego State's been in a ton of close games in the last few years, and that's where they're comfortable, and they want to win a game by 3 or 4 points, going down the stretch in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. And can UCLA do that kind of grind it out type of win? I was thinking about it the other day. UCLA has either lost close games or has blown out teams for the most part, especially in the last 2 years of the DTR, Charbonnet, Chip Kelly era. Has there been a game?
You have to get a lot of near wins.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, there really hasn't been a game where UCLA, like, they're just, slugfest, just back and forth, just landing haymakers, to where it's so close that in the end, UCLA pulls out a win. There really hasn't been a game like that. Like, if DTR would have thrown a touchdown instead of an interception against USC last year, that probably would have been the first in a long time to win in that manner. But even against Washington and Utah, they had those teams, handled, pretty well. Like we knew that they were going to win with like 5, 6, 7 minutes left in the game.
The only one that comes to mind from last year is the Alabama State game, which came down to the wire, but still that was
There
more.
you go. Okay, you're right.
But that was still more Alabama. I mean, I guess DTR let a touchdown or field goal drive to win that game, to get the points they need to win the game.
Yeah, those field goal. Yeah.
But Alabama South Alabama still had to kind of screw it up at the end there.
Yeah.
But like, I swear to God, Mike, I was in my mind. Yeah, you're right. We haven't seen a lot of games where Chip Kelly's Bruin teams have pulled out a lot of close games at the end. And that's a very good point. Let's hope they don't have to get to that point with this team. They really shouldn't. They're 14.5-point favorites, so the game should be over. It should not be in doubt late in the game. Although the game they were just in, it was a 1-point game going into the fourth quarter, and Coastal had the ball. So I mean, if they are going to be in a dogfight towards the end, let's hope that they can finish as strong as they did in this last game. As far as the San Diego State offense versus the UCLA defense, we already kind of talked about how San Diego State's been marred by a lot of penalties. San Diego State has really had trouble throwing the ball, even against FCS opponents, even against Ohio, which the strength of their team, like they're a good they're a good team, but they shouldn't be in the same class as SDSU or UCLA by any means.
Yeah.
If the Bruins, it seems like their strengths match up against the Aztec weaknesses, because the Bruins have been pretty consistently good against the run in the last few years.
Yeah.
And when you talk about people that are exploiting the Bruins,
they do it through the air.
And it doesn't feel like this team has the potential to exploit the Bruins through the air.
Yeah.
It just eyeballing it. So this could be a game where the Bruins, and then when you look ahead to next week too, they have their own FCS opponent, right? Only the second one in team history. But the next 2 weeks really should be. I'm sorry, I forgot to strain the lemon out of that cocktail.
That's all right.
That's the problem. This really should be 2 weeks of football in a row where the Bruin defense really kind of pads their stats heading into the conference season before it probably gets blown out of the water a little bit because of all the high-powered offenses.
Yeah.
But if the Bruins don't make it through week 3 with a very good-looking defense, at least on paper, then something's gone horribly awry.
Yeah.
Because now, after you got through the Coastal game with the great veteran quarterback, that danger shouldn't exist anymore for the next couple of weeks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this really is UCLA strength versus San Diego State weakness, and I think the Bruins just need to not get big-headed, be aggressive, and go out there and play hard, and they should be able to limit San Diego State pretty well on the offensive side of the ball. Now, on the defensive side, this is where I am very concerned, because it seems to me that San Diego State defense is kind of a little bit, they're going to play just like the Bruins played this week, and that is kind of nasty, kind of chippy. They're going to be trying to hit hard. They're going to be trying to knock the quarterback out of the game. So far, they've already knocked one quarterback out of the game, that Ohio quarterback, right? And the Bruins trying to figure out their offense, the Bruins having either the inexperienced Dante Moore or the slightly more experienced but still not super experienced Ethan Garbers, or whatever the Schlee's going to throw out there.
Yeah.
They have a good potential to confuse them. They play a 3-3-5 defense, and that means they're going to be sending rushers from all over the field. That means they're going to be trying to confuse Moore or Garbers or whoever's in there. And already on the season, I think I said it earlier, but already on the season, the Aztecs have 6 interceptions. They've had 3 a game the first 2 games. And they had one that was a touchdown, pick 6, called back. So they've really intercepted the ball 7 times.
Yeah.
So that's something where if the Bruins, I think this could be a game where the Bruins are successful because they were able to establish the running game. They didn't run the ball as much as they wanted to last week, but they ran at a pretty good clip. Like they're at 7 yards per carry. But the running game can really go a long way to taking the pressure off of the quarterbacks to where the Bruin quarterbacks just need to sprinkle in some good passing. Once you're running the ball
Smart
and once
passing,
you've established that, then you can hit Sturdivant, you can hit Ford, you can hit some of the playmakers with big plays, but it's all going to start with the Bruins being able to run the ball, I think. And so hopefully that's how it plays out. But if San Diego State's just trying to run the ball and the Bruins are just trying to run the ball, this should be a pretty shortened game. this clock should just speed away.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how that's going to make Chip Kelly feel, who wants to run more plays.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll have to figure that out, right?
And, that's weird. That was one thing he was talking about. And, yeah, UCLA only ran 70 plays. I think Coastal Carolina had 77. That needs to change drastically. That's not just a time of possession thing. That is a defense needs to get the opposing offense off the field and not give them so much time, not allow them to tire them down. Although, if UCLA scores quickly, you can't really help that.
Yeah.
But, Chip Kelly, I think he's smart enough to understand how it works now, that he'll be able to maneuver through it. At least, we'll see the effects of that, in like 2-3 games. And this will be a good jumping off point for him to kind of dissect and analyze how he can get more plays with these new rules.
Yeah, no, and I'm real curious to see how it goes. But like I said, I don't know if this is the game where they really are. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe they come out and there's like bam, 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 and maybe they do get on a hot streak and they're able to put up some points. But with the way the San Diego State, secondary plays, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to limit some of the danger they put themselves in. But we'll see. The bottom line is San Diego State's a pretty one-dimensional offensive team. The Bruins should be able to handle them on defense. And as far as the Bruin offense goes, I think it's going to be more about what they do, the Bruin offense does, and how they choose to play the game as opposed to what's going to get dictated to them by the Aztecs. But I guess we'll have to find out. The other little point of this, which ended up being a giant feather in their cap last game, the special teams play, couldn't, after, kicking a ball out of bounds and after Colson Yankoff kind of dropping and then re-recovering a fumble, like special teams couldn't have gone any better for the Bruins last week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it needs to go that well, like 2 punts inside the 10, 2 for 2 on field goals. Hopefully,
that was pretty solid.
Yeah, that was good.
What would be even better is if they continue to do that and the UCLA defense doesn't allow the team to get a first down.
Yeah, well, I mean, 3 of those offside calls led to short 1st and 5s.
Yeah.
And that ended up, leading to not getting off the field early in that game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that would be really nice. But still, that field position helped the defense, even though they did give up a couple first downs. It helped them from giving up points or from forcing long field goal attempts, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where the key is. Mikey, how do you see the game going, and what is your score prediction?
I think the offense will, whatever Chip Kelly decides to do with the quarterbacks, at least they know what is kind of expected. Hell, they still might not know what is expected. But I think UCLA will, just their talent will help carry them past what San Diego State does, because I think UCLA's defense is going to really clamp down and not allow many points. They did okay against lesser teams, that's San Diego State. But now they're going up against UCLA's defense, which has a lot to prove. They have a lot of talent. And as Ken Norton Jr., I think it was Ken Norton Jr. that said at practice on Monday or Tuesday, either way, something to the effect of, they're getting over 200 rushing yards a game. Well, they haven't met the Bruins yet. And I sincerely believe that is the mindset, that they have a tough defense and they are not going to let teams just push them around, at least not anymore.
All right, so what's your score prediction?
I'm going to go slightly more conservative, but I still think UCLA kind of pulls away. I'm going to go 28-10.
28-10. All right, good. I'm kind of right in your range as well. I'm going, and I just feel like I said already, San Diego's offense one-dimensional. I think the Bruin defense matches up well with that, and it's just a matter of, can the offense kind of work out whatever kinks it has, but I kind of feel like it'll have a good, strong performance in this first game on the road, I'm hoping. But I think that there's just not going to be a lot of time in the game because I think the clock's going to move fast. So I will say Bruins 31 and Aztecs 9.
31-9.
31-9.
All right. And whenever these punks who I moved to Arizona, I have volleyball practice. Yeah, excuses, guys. Whatever. We'll post their predictions on the Twitters, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, or we won't because screw them.
Yeah, screw them.
All right. It is Pac-12 Talk, and we have brought on our brother who has moved to another state. It is Jamaal Artis at Champs 1015. He live from Arizona via FaceTime. Jamaal, it's good to see your face, man. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm from Pac-12 country, future Big 12 country, apparently.
It's crazy,
you
right?
guys.
It's absolutely crazy. But we hope you're doing well. Are you going to do a West Coast bias anytime soon? You said you were going to send me something.
I had told you I was going to send you a file, and yesterday I got lazy, and then I thought, I'll do it when I get home because I go in early at work, and I had a long day. I literally got here about an hour ago.
But you're working again, and everything's all squared away and all that? Living the
family
dream?
Yeah, Yep, living the dream Monday through Friday. Sometimes I'm able to get home even before the kids get to school because they go in at the crack of dawn. I see the desert sun come in. Getting paid. I got paid for not doing anything yesterday. Paid holiday.
Wow. That's good stuff.
I was like, whoa, this is the first time I've had a 3-day holiday since I think Obama's second administration. So
that's kick-ass, bro.
Yeah.
Well, that is outstanding. So I wanted to bring you on to talk about the Pac-12 because, number one,
the greatest conference in college football, you mean?
Hells yeah.
Yeah. Apparently the undefeated Pac-12. It's just ridiculous, right?
Yes.
But even beyond that, California, here we come. How do you feel about the Golden Bears' great start going on the road, kicking the living shit out of the mean green of North Texas, a university I visited over in the off season, but you couldn't ask for a better start, could you have?
Shocked out of my shoes. Literally, my flip-flops went flying in the air. No, you couldn't have asked for a better start. I mean, not only is it a better start, I mean, we're talking about a historic start. I mean, they had 669 total yards.
Damn.
It's crazy. They haven't done that to anybody since 2016. It's just nuts. Didn't expect it. I sent you guys my prediction for the game last week. I thought, on the road, they got to go to North Texas. Who knows about this offense? The last year's offense was so terrible. They literally had to get a new OC again. And I said 21-17, and good golly, Miss Molly, they got way more than 21.
Yeah, who needs J. Michael Sturdivant, right? The Bruins need him, but I guess Cal didn't need him.
Yeah, I mean, most of it was on rushing, but I think I texted you, oh crap, they just lost. Cal had their own quarterback, who's going to start, and Sam Jackson.
The fifth.
Yeah, he won, and he had them going, and then he hurts himself, and they're taking off his equipment. They're saying upper body injury before halftime, and I'm thinking, well, crap on a stick. It's like they can't even, the last year they get that ACC thing taken care of right before the opening weekend, and now here it's going to be another losing season. They lose their starting quarterback. They got to put in a second guy, and they just kept rolling. I mean, I was shocked. I mean,
some guy named Ben Finley.
Yeah, that has not been the mark of a Cal Bear team for a while, where they can just keep going.
You cut out there for a minute though, but Jamaal, yeah, you said that they rushed the ball more than they passed, but I mean, it's not like they were slappies throwing the ball. I mean, they ended up with 312 yards passing and 357 running, but I mean, that's it's pretty kick-ass, dude. And then obviously you got to be thrilled with how Jaden Ott looked, 9.5 yards a carry. That's pretty insane. But I mean, if this is going to be like for the Golden Bears, I mean, geez. It just seems to me, Mike, and tell me what you think about this. Before we looked at the season, we thought there were 6 pretty good teams in the Pac-12 with maybe a 7th in Arizona.
Yeah.
But now when I look around the Pac-12, I'm like, the only team that doesn't look at least pretty good to me is freaking Arizona State, and their game got delayed by like 5 hours because of a crazy weather event. So who the hell knows what Arizona State really looks like? But I mean, right now, it's like if you had to tell me who's going to really suck in the Pac-12, the only one I could be fairly sure about, I'm still kind of like low on Arizona State, but Stanford looks much better than I thought they would. Suck at Stanford, right?
Yep.
Suck at Stanford.
But still, I mean, they look pretty darn good.
Yeah.
The Beavers, I was thinking they weren't going to be as good as I thought they would because I thought there'd be a little bit of, I didn't know if DJ was going to be that good. But it appears that I'm wrong about the Beavers.
Nice beaver.
The Beavers look pretty darn good. right? You're freaking the Cal. I mean, we just talked about the Golden Bears, but I mean, geez.
Go Bears!
Go Bears because they look fantastic, right? And, oh, by the way, Jamaal, breaking news, but if I were to tell you, or how would you respond if I told you that if you look on, look ahead a couple months, and you look at ESPN Win Predictor for the matchup of the Bruins versus the Golden Bears, right? Who do you think's favored in that matchup on Win Predictor?
Right now?
Right now, at this moment.
UCLA.
The Golden Bears are a 50.7% favorite. Means it's basically 50-50, but they have the edge right now. ESPN Win Predictor, based on that performance, or they come out and kick the shit out of the Mean Green, they are favored against the Bruins. Well, I mean, FBI hates the Bruins, but I mean, I thought you'd be very happy about that.
Go Bears!
That's nuts.
Yeah,
that's nuts. The Bears have to win on the road for that one. No. It's too early for that.
Whatever. It is too early for that. But I mean, talked about Sparky, talked about the Cardinal, the Wildcats. They looked okay. They had an FCS team, but I mean, they're still probably fine. The Cougars look better than we thought they were going to look, as far as I'm concerned. The Golden Bears, you talked about the Beavs, and then of course you have the Trojans, the Ducks, the Utes, the Huskies, and the Bruins. We all thought they were going to be pretty darn good, but it's like, who the hell is the easy win in this freaking conference now? Like, you have to adjust the expectations downwards for every team just because it seems like the whole league is much improved.
Yeah, it's gonna have to come down to some things where teams get banged up, the personnel you start getting attrition of personnel maybe and stuff like that. But I'm
sure that could be a part.
I'm afraid of all these offenses. Like I'd be worried about Cal playing another team. I thought, well, hey, they might beat. Hey, they're going to get revenge on Colorado, right? They're going to play Colorado at home, and they're going to beat them. So, I don't think so. I don't think they're beating the Buffs. I'll root for them against Stanford. They'll still worry me at the end of the season because just these offenses, Arizona. Well, they're not playing Arizona, but if they had to play Arizona, I'd be worried. I don't think they would whoop on them like they did last year. Because Arizona's got pretty good offense and pretty good quarterback play. That it's like you really just need some lucky bounces to go your way. I think this year in the Pac-12, which sucks because it's the last year and it's going to be attrition up and down the board, where the conference is not going to get any credit, unlike other conferences.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think before the season started, I thought that there's a lot of good teams in the Pac-12, but that they might get knocked out of the playoff because, Washington would lose too many games, or the Ducks would lose too many games, or the Trojans would lose like one too many. Like there was going to be a 2-loss winner of the Pac-12. At this point, looking at how these teams all played, I don't see. I think it's guaranteed that everybody's going to lose a couple games. Just based on the way it looks right now, because there's really no layups on the schedule at this point. We haven't talked about my new second favorite team in the country yet, and that's the Buffs. But when you look up and down the schedule, my God, like where is the layups? We thought, I think still you'd have to say that UCLA gets a break by not having to play the Ducks and the Huskies. But now the Beavers and the Cougs don't look like nearly as much of a downgrade, right?
And they got to play the Buffs. I wasn't high on the Buffs. I thought, the whole turnover situation in terms of personnel and Deion's first year in a Power 5 conference, I thought, whoever thought they were going to be good is painting too rosy a picture. I didn't think they were even going to win nobody thought they were going to win the TCU game, but I really thought they were going to struggle against the rest of the conference. And now I'm thinking, crap, that's a stupid trap game for UCLA, that kind of situation.
No, it's nuts. And by the way, I want to acknowledge my new second favorite team, the Colorado Buffaloes. Couldn't have been more wrong with how I was initially picking them. I think, like a lot of people, you just didn't believe that they could put it together. Now, look, this is after one game, but it's against TCU on the road. I think there's a lot of things that TCU did against the Buffs that maybe Pac-12 teams will not do. And I do think the Bruins still probably match up pretty well against them, considering how much pressure they're going to be able to put on Sanders when the time comes. So, I'm still pretty bullish on the Bruins' ability to take down the Buffs. But, oh my God, what a debut, right? Like, as much as I Don't like how Dion does all the stuff before and after the games. Maybe it doesn't how it rubs people the wrong way, and I totally get that. Watching that game though, man, they couldn't have been more clutch. They as far as just their offense, their stars are just absolute superstars. As far as Hunter running around there and just making plays, Sanders making plays, that running back making plays, it was just a joy to watch. And so I was captured instantly by the Buffs. And now I'm gonna have to break out my Buffs jersey that I got when I went and saw the Bruins beat up the Buffs on Folsom Field back in 2011. I do have a Buffs jersey from then, and I'm telling you, if the Buffs aren't playing the Bruins, I'm rooting for Ralphie 100 times out of 100.
Jake's gonna bust out his Eric Bieniemy throwback.
Oh, bro, dude, I'm all over it. So I don't know. I mean, what did you, Mike? Do you have any thoughts on the Pac-12 at all? It's crazy to me how good they are right from the get-go. Even in the last year of the Pac-12, it's geez, you figure out right now to do this. It's ridiculous, but here they are.
I just love the fact, just the pure chaos. The fact that UCLA, the Pac-12 is 13-0, with USC being 2-0 because they started in week 0.
That's right.
Just nobody has lost in this final year of this wonderful conference. It's just beautiful to see, and and we all know, fans of the Pac-12 know that by the end of the season, there will probably be no college football playoff team because all the Pac-12 does is beat up on each other and eat itself. But I tweeted something out, and I think it could happen. But it just in this last year of the Pac-12, each Pac-12 team will find a way to go 12-0. That's just the world's going to be weird, by December, and it's just going to be a glorious meltdown of excellence.
I will say this right now. It is impossible for the Pac to go undefeated in week.
Everybody 12-0.
Yeah, right. It's impossible for them to go undefeated, not just for the season, Mike, but it's also impossible for them to go undefeated in week 2.
Yeah.
Because we do have a conference matchup.
Yeah.
The Trojans are hosting the Cardinal, right? So I think we're all assuming that as good as Troy Taylor's team looked in week 1, they're going to get curb stomped by the Trojans, yeah?
Oh, I'm rooting for an earthquake. That's who I think will win.
Well, guys, I'm never going to root for Stanford to do well. So, yes, I'm looking forward to the curb stomp.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what's going to happen. It would be great if a Jim Harbaugh upset Stanford of a highly ranked Trojan team happened again at the Coliseum, but I'm not counting on it. So we can assume that SC will be 3-0 after this week. Stanford will be 1-1. But with that being said, could you imagine if the Pac-12 goes how many games are here? There's got to be 12 games. If they go 11-1 in week 2, right? How crazy would that look? And what is the storyline at that point? But let's go down the line, because I'm not sure if there's any games that I'm picking. There's games that I think are going to be close, but you can draw a very easy straight line towards the Pac being, 11-1 again, with a couple of tough games happening. But let's just go down the list. Probably looking how Baylor looked in week 1. Can we just assume the Utes are going to take care of business in Waco?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 1-0. Seeing how Colorado looked and how Nebraska looked week 1. Nebraska is going to Colorado in one of the fiercest rivalry games that ever was, but it's been on hold for a while, right? But, better red than dead. I think the Buffs are going to take out Nebraska, and they're going to be 2-0. Anybody disagree with that?
No.
No.
Okay, 2-0. Now, obviously, there's a world in which Nebraska kicks the shit out of Colorado because Colorado's on the high for week 1 and all that stuff. But I'm just riding with my Buffs right now. Got that Colorado sway. I think 2-0. Okay, Tulsa is at number 8 Washington. That's a no-brainer. We're 3-0 already, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oregon is at Texas Tech. They might not put up 80, but I'm pretty sure they're going to beat the Red Raiders. That's 4-0, right?
Yes.
Mikey?
Yes.
You agree with that? Okay. UCLA is at San Diego State. They're 14.5-point favorites. We all think they're going to win. Jamal, do you think the Bruins are going to win that game?
Yes, I picked them.
Okay, let's go 5-0. UC Davis, the Aggies, are at Oregon State. I'm not even going to say anything. That's 6-0, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Oklahoma State. this is where it gets a little tricky. At Arizona State. That could be a tough one.
Yeah, I predicted that Arizona State would lose that one.
Okay, so I'm like at 6-1
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
That's going to be tough. Arizona is at Mississippi State.
I think Arizona wins that game.
Yeah, certainly I think it's in play, right? Mississippi State played a directional last week. They won 45-7 over Southeastern Louisiana, but it's doable. That's a game that they could win. That's a swing game, I think. And then the other tough game. So I think we're in trouble with Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State's probably going to beat Sparky, but if they win, that'll be a hell of an indicator. And then the other game that's going to be tough is Wisconsin. Number 19 is at Washington State, but that's up in Pullman. Would we be surprised if Wisconsin gets dropped?
Nope. I picked Wazoo on that one.
Yeah, and they played that game and they only beat Buffalo by like 10 points or something. The Badgers did. So I mean, we're like win predictor has the Badgers is only like a 63% favorite. So I mean, I think that's something that very much could happen. So I guess we'll see about that. But that would just be the sick thing of all sick things if the Pac-12 was able to like not lose any other games other than the Stanford game that they're going to lose to SC. Wouldn't that just be bonkers, Jamaal?
That would be awesome. Well, minus Stanford doing anything good.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, but in this scenario, they'd lose. So you'd like that.
Yeah. Yes, I would like that. I mean, it'd be crazy, but the storylines would be like, I don't know. I think it'd be funny if the conference wasn't breaking up this next coming season. You know what the storylines would be? They're going to come back down to earth. It's fool's gold. They're going to come back down to earth. It's all the things that we're saying now. It's like, yeah, they're going to beat each other up, and then no one's going to have to worry about them being in a playoff scenario.
Yeah, but as it is right now, everybody's all nostalgic, and they're willing to allow for some Pac-12 magic. So we'll see. Oh, and by the way, Win Predictor has the Cowboys as a 70% chance of victory over Sparky,
Arizona.
But it's only a 3.5 point game. So it's like, okay, Oklahoma State minus 3.5 right now, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know, dude. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see.
We will see. Well, that would just be absolutely nuts. All right, Jamaal,
yes.
We need to do some listener feedback, but we will bring you back on for What's Brewing with you
awesome.
in a minute, okay?
Okay.
Stand by.
Bye.
Before we get to listener feedback, I just want to say, direct you guys to the Substacks that we have for the What's Brewing Show. It's what'sbrewinshow.substack.com. And for the other shows, it's bare minimum, I think, .substack.com and westcoastbias.substack.com. But I just put out an article for UCLA going into the season opener. It was titled, "The UCLA defense wasn't as bad as advertised, but can't help but be better in 2023." And I think Game 1 justified that opinion. We'll see if that continues to be justified. I think through Week 3, I'm going to look pretty good in that article. And then when the Pac-12 season starts, we'll see. But if you haven't read it yet, it's a pretty long read. But go to the Substack, what'sbrewin.substack.com. Actually, not What's Brewin Show. It's what'sbrewin.substack.com. I've been saying it wrong. God damn it. That's a very bad promotion.
They'll find it.
Anywho, go on there to look at that article. With that being said, let's get to listener feedback. Number one, we got some emails at what'sbruinshow@gmail.com. The return of Seamus Fitzpatrick. He is a grouchy older Bruin fan, but he says respect to Garbers after the "Do you want more?" game in Game 1. Seamus says, respect to Garbers, but the team is tolerating him and are lit for Dante. He's got more poise and isn't forcing it. Put him in. That's Seamus's vote via the email. Mike, it just kind of seems that's the way things are tilted right now. We'll see if it's like that after Game 2, right?
Yeah.
He also says, can someone explain why it takes Chip 6 years and Dion 6 months to get good?
I don't. That's a tough question just in general because it's like it's two different systems, two ways of thinking, two different ways of coaching. Like Kelly wasn't given much, and neither was Sanders. But Sanders, he has just the hype, the hoopla, the celebrity. Like, oh, I'm Deion Sanders. I'm going to do this. Well, Chip Kelly is like, yeah, I'm Chip Kelly. I organize. I really think about my Here, let me put it this way. It's kind of like an MIT professor going against a celebrity, with Chip being the MIT professor and Dion being the celebrity. It's like they can both eventually get there and get hype behind it and do what they need to do. But honestly, I think that Chip Kelly is going to, in the long run, his system is going to prove more worthy than this is what I got and this is what we're doing. I'm just saying.
I would say that we don't know if Colorado's actually any good, but we know they're much better than we thought they would be. And it seems like even if they are, just better than what we thought they would be, but still not good this year, that's ahead of where we all thought. We didn't think it could work possibly at all. But you're looking at a new age of college football, and did it seem like Kelly had to be, like the Bruins under Kelly had to be as bad as they were? Because when Kelly came in, we thought they were going to be great. We're like, oh my gosh, the sky's the limit, da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden we had to sit through, 3-9 and 4-8, and it's like it crushed our souls, right?
Yeah.
We're hitting the doomsday bell and all that stuff. And do I think it had to be like that? No. But with that being said, was it like that? Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
But now are we excited about our team? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it has, you can't, as much as people can say, oh, but this and this and this, and Chip Kelly is, 27 and 29 over the last 5 seasons. It's like, yeah, someone tried to step to me with that last week, and I'm like, look, if you're going for a raise at your job, do you want your the powers that be? Do you want management to look at what you did 5 years ago, or do you want them to look at the success that you've had in the last 2 years? I mean, that's just everybody should be graded on what have you done for me lately, and what Chip Kelly has done for everybody lately is increase the win percentage every freaking year.
We still can say that Chip Kelly's teams have been on an upward trajectory at UCLA.
Yeah.
Now,
but apparently that's not good.
Did it have to be as bad as it was? No, it didn't. It really didn't. It really didn't have to be that bad, but it was, and now here we are.
Yeah.
So we could either stew on what could have been. Right. And by the way, looking at Colorado, it's like lightning in a bottle. Right. Was Deion Sanders available to coach back in 2018, Mike?
I don't know. I don't care.
He wasn't. So what the hell are we worried about it for? We have what we have. They have what they have. And here we are. But no, I absolutely understand the sentiment, Seamus. But, there's no sense crying over spilled milk at this point. I think the Bruins have a pretty good team this year, but remains to be seen how good they can be in relation to all the other teams. But once again, Seamus, thanks for emailing in. We always appreciate your support. Now, let's get to the voicemails. We had, like I said, we had a bunch of voicemails at 805-399-4WBS, Second Radio Troy. But a few didn't make it in time for the postgame show. So let's get to the first caller. I think it's someone from a faraway place.
Hey, guys. It's Gabe from Virginia. Love your show.
Thanks,
nice
Gabe.
result last night. A lot of questions, some answers. Want to get your take on the offensive line. Saw a lot of Fina on the line, not as much as Kunta. Are we thinking Fina's better than Kunta? Is this a concern? What about the rest of the line? Not as much Wiley as we thought. More Carlson, if I believe that was his name, or Carlin. What do you guys think? How concerned should we be? Still optimistic, but got some questions. Over to you.
Really quickly, before we get into that, I forget, and I'm saying it now because this is when I remembered it. Big shout out to Christian, who spotted me at the game and just had a quick little chat.
Let's go, Christian.
With him, there was someone else that called out my name, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" But I was like on my way to see Jake, and then Jake is with his crew down in the stands with Nancy and Leo.
Is lit,
and y'all are on fire out there. So
actually,
honestly,
Mike,
everybody,
I'm going to bring a bunch of stickers to the game from now on.
Oh,
so if you go to Tunnel 17 and look for me, if you want a Butts Bruin sticker, it's there for you. So please come and get one.
Oh my God, how much trouble would we get in if we leave one sticker at each entrance? Because they're going to trace this shit back to us. Yeah. Exactly. But no, well, first off, thank you very much to everybody that listens, and honestly, it makes us feel good that I don't know, that we get to do something fun and y'all appreciate it. But anyway, as far as the offensive line, I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was horrible. I will say this because of just what he's been able to do. Tim Drevno has done a really, really good job with the offensive line. And I think, like I said about a lot of the stuff with the Bruins in the first game, they needed this first game to figure out who they are, what they're doing, what their role is, and how they can execute going forward. With that being said, yeah, a few of the guys, they had some guys slip past them, but I think looking at the tape, Drevno, Chip Kelly, they're not going to stand for that going forward. They're not just going to be like, oh, that's a one-time thing. They're going to address it, and they're going to make these guys better each game. Even if it's 1% each game, they're going to be better.
And I would say specifically, you asked about, Fina versus Kunta, and they were both playing, number one, and both of them had plays where they got beat, number two. So that's going to be something like it remains to be seen type of thing. But one thing I would like to point out is it seemed like a lot of offensive linemen played in this game, and I imagine a lot of offensive linemen will play in the San Diego State and certainly in the third game that they have against the directional Carolina team. But that's something that the luxury of playing a soft non-con gives you. So we saw Kunta, we saw Fina, we saw Wiley, we saw Roy, we saw Duke, who's going to play regardless. We saw Holstage. We saw all these dudes out there getting reps, and some of the reps were good and some of the reps weren't. But I think that's what me and Mike have faith in, Drevno and Kelly, to get whatever they're going to have, and DeGiorgio is out there as well too. And I think obviously him and Duke are the most solid of the starters. Yeah. And then everybody else beyond that is going to be kind of the best. Let the best man win, whether it's Holstage or Kunta or Fina or Wiley or whoever. But Roy, I forgot Roy in there too. But that's one of the things. I really think that is a luxury of having a soft non-con. They'll be able to sort that out. And especially after seeing this opening effort, I'm still very, very hopeful and very faithful that they're going to get the offensive line into a really nice unit by the time we hit the conference season. And that's really what we should be looking for.
Yeah.
All right. One more call. Let's take it.
Hi, this is Alex from Inglewood. I'll keep it short. I was kind of mad at Chip coming into this game. I saw that Garber was starting, but Moore was also playing. And it kind of reminded me instantly back in 2012 when you had Brett Hundley right there, redshirt freshman, and you had Richard Breho, the fifth-year senior quarterback.
Oh, Dickie Breho.
And it made you think, what if
Kevin Prince?
What if Jim Morris started Breho in that game and ran with him against Rice for 2 to 3 quarters, and then I don't know, the life of Brett Hundley might have been completely changed. Who knows? So I don't want Chip to play any more bullshit games. Basically, just Dante Moore forever, and we don't need to see Garber anymore unless, God forbid, there's an injury. So I think we can just move on with this next phase of Bruin football. Other than that, I thought the defense got at it. They gave up a lot of yards. It seems like, but I looked at the stats at the end of the game. It wasn't super horrible. So hopefully they just keep on just trying to get at the quarterback, even if they give up some big plays. I don't really care. I like that kind of style of defense, and can't wait to see Dante the rest of the season. So go Bruins. I'll try to make this a weekly thing, calling in if I remember. All right.
Hell yeah, Alex. Alex from Inglewood. I
Cheers to
appreciate
you.
it. Please make that a weekly occurrence, and great call. Number one, I think that regardless of how I think what you're saying is what it actually is right now. Me and Mike already talked about it, but it feels like it's Dante Moore's to lose at this point, just based on the footing. What happened in game one. So I think that you're probably at this point going to get your wish. As far as that goes, that's certainly the sentiment both locally and nationally, is that Moore won the job. But the competition may still be open, at least technically, for the next couple of games. So, I mean, we're probably going to be farting around with it. They really only have, they have the San Diego State game, which should be going up against a fairly tough defense, but I think San Diego State's going to be offensively challenged. So I think it's a game where you can do a little bit more experimenting, so don't get frustrated by that.
Yeah.
And then the FCS game, obviously they should be able to just kick the shit out of that team. So they're probably going to have more
Was
experimenting
it
in
North
that
Carolina
game too.
Central? I think it was North Carolina Central.
Yeah, me and Bill had it as Alabama initially, but whatever.
You were wrong.
We were wrong. But the bottom line is, these next two games, you're probably going to see more experimenting, whether you want to see it or not. So don't get frustrated by that. Prepare yourself, gird your loins for the possibility that we're going to see multiple quarterbacks in all of these games, because that's probably how it's going to be. But once we get to the conference season, especially if the data keeps pointing in the direction it is, it feels like it seems like everybody wants. We all want more. Which is not to say, Garbers, we love you too, but it just seems like that's.
But as we said, I mean, with Garbers, he basically has to be better than Caleb Williams. He has to be better than Bo Nix. He has to be better than all of these elite quarterbacks because he cannot have a mistake.
Which is possible, but as of right now, it feels like it's more. But we'll see. We will have to see.
Yeah.
Now, as far as your point on the defense, I think that's wise to look at the stats after the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it's not just like kind of mediocre. I'd say it was actually a pretty good game.
Yeah.
In hindsight, that was a really good defensive performance. It remains to be seen how good the Coastal offense is throughout the year, but I'll bet you they play better in the rest of their games than they did in this game, and that is a check mark in the box of Bruin defensive progress.
Yeah. And I forgot to talk about this earlier when we were talking about the game. A lot of the offensive stats, and a lot of it has to be, it was split between Garbers and Moore, but still, whatever. The total and passing yardage, just mediocre, like beyond, like a sub-mediocre, like 6th, 7th, 8th in the Pac-12. And they weren't horrible stats because they came away with the win. But then you look at some of the defensive stats, UCLA is like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. That is something we haven't seen in a while. So
and like I said, if after the first 3 games of the season, UCLA is not at the top of the charts in all defensive categories, then something's gone horribly awry, because not just based on how they play, but also based on the competition, they really should be able to pad their stats before heading into the conference schedule.
Yeah.
So that's something that I am absolutely thinking will happen.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen, but we'll see. Right, the biggest hurdle offensively in the non-con looks like it's already in the rearview mirror.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we'll see where we go from here. But with that being said, we head off to San Diego State. We'll catch you with the post game after that game. I don't know if it'll be me and Bill, or I don't know, maybe I'll call Mike. I don't know, but there will be a post game sometime Saturday night or Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I would ballpark it at Sunday morning, because I like to give you guys time to call in. So please call in at 805-399-4WBS. Second Rain Troy. Thank you very much. And we'll get as many calls as we can, and then we'll do the postgame. Other than that, I think that this is a fun week to be a Bruin, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no lamentations at this point yet.
Hey, want to know what can you complain about?
Hey, there you go. All right, so with that being said, let's get to What's Bruin with you.
What's brewing with you? You ask me. What's brewing with me? Yeah. What's brewing with you? What's brewing with me? What's brewing with you?
Jamaal, what's brewing with you, my man?
I'm cheating. I'm taking us back in time because, as the listeners know, I moved out of state. But before I moved out of state, I had one more shift at Good Samaritan Hospital in downtown LA. I'm using proper names now because they're not listening. I don't care.
That's right.
So, for the listeners, I was a supervisor on a NICU floor. That's neonatal intensive care unit. And you go
saving lives.
Yep, saving lives, saving preemies, saving babies who aren't breathing when they're supposed to be born. So literally, and I work nights, so that's 12 hours, 7 to 7. 7 p.m., 7 a.m. I was there at, I want to say, 3:30 in the morning. This is my last shift, folks. In 4 hours, I'm going to be done and off to my new job out here in Arizona. And I get a phone call from the ER. There's a baby being born in the ER. You guys have to come down. I said, crap. Actually, I said, shit. And before I can get to the elevator, I run into labor delivery personnel, and they're telling me, no, she's coming up. I'm like, oh, great. That means, false alarms. Baby's not going to be born there. The legs aren't sticking out. The baby's going to be born labor delivery floor. We'll just check it out in case it's, super quick. Nope. Get to labor delivery. They wheel her in. The mom is holding the baby in one arm and the placenta in the other.
Oh.
The baby was born at home.
Oh, wow.
Mom, this was the woman's 10th baby.
Oh, my God.
So she told her husband, this is all in Spanish, by the way, and I speak Spanish fluently, so I'm listening to this so I can report this to the doctor and whoever else needs translation. And she says, I felt a little pain, dolor, and I told my husband, you better call the firefighters. I think I'm going into labor. And, yep, sure enough, she said the baby just came out.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
Here I am in my last shift.
You don't get this on any other podcast.
The skids are grease, so to speak.
Yes. I'm looking at the labor and delivery people. I'm like, are you shitting me? Are you guys trying to kill me on my last night? So the mom's holding the baby. She's holding placenta. Now, of course, this woman, she has prenatal care, but none of the records are with us because it's precipitous. Nothing is prepared for the situation. So we're looking at her and we're asking her all this information. We don't know how big the baby, how far along she is, none of that information. And they're asking her all this information. I raise my hand and I'm like, hey, can somebody cut the placenta so we can assess the baby? Because she's still holding the baby. So they finally do that. We get it on a warmer. And sure enough, this baby is cold because, it's been in a wet blanket, not even a towel. Man. We have to admit the baby because the baby's oxygen levels are too low for it to be considered safe to stay with mom. And guess who had to admit the baby and keep the baby? Little old me. So my last shift, literally, it was. I swear, I was like, I'm so done. I was so.
You're like Glover in Lethal Weapon. I'm getting too old for this shit.
I'm getting too old for this shit. I'm done. I had to take care of this child. I mean, the baby was gonna be fine. It was actually a term baby. The oxygen situation was probably more that the baby was cold and stunted. It was gonna be able to breathe on its own. Just needed some help eventually.
You know what?
I'm sure the baby.
Good job, Jamaal. You know what Dante Moore says about that?
What does Dante Moore say about that?
Go Bruins.
He says, "Go Bruins."
Go
Good
Bruins.
job. And also go Bears. Dante Moore
Oh
said
my
that.
God. And I just couldn't believe it. It was like my last night. And everybody I've told that story to just can't believe that I did that for 8 years, guys. 8 years, that was my job. Run in when there was an emergency. And sometimes the babies were gray. Sometimes the babies weren't breathing. Sometimes the babies were screaming, but were fat and their blood sugar was low. It was just, I'm so just happy to be done. So I just thought you guys should, you and the listeners should just know.
And Jamal's blood pressure dropped by 80 points as soon as that job ended.
As soon as that job ended, yep.
I know that, Coach Jamal. Cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers.
You did your service,
Jamal.
and now you're done. Good job.
Thank you. So just to let the listeners know, I'm in a much better position now and situation. So no more nights, no more weekends, no more holidays.
Let's go, Jamal. You know what Dante Moore says about your new schedule?
Go Bruins.
He says, "Go Bruins." Yeah, that's right.
Go Bears.
Yeah. I'll give you a Go Bears too from Megan.
Go Bears.
Awesome.
Nice.
Mike, what's wrong with you?
Well, I didn't have as cool of a story as that, but long 4-day weekend.
Dude, but hey, we're not going to tell the story, but Mike sent somebody to the hospital today too. Crazy.
Yeah. I'll tell you that off air, Jamal.
Yeah.
But I didn't send someone. I assisted someone.
Oh, he beat the shit out of him.
I supported.
That is not true.
That fucker's going to think twice.
Mike did his duty and rendered some sort of aid today, and he did a great job.
Yes. And the person is doing well. Long weekend with the kids. I did have football, so that impedes it. But the kids know it and love it, and they're getting more and more into football because
That's right.
that Saturday morning we're watching Colorado, and they're halfway between like, oh, okay, I'll watch this, but can I go watch blah 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 in the other room? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I know you don't like football, but coming out going, oh, what's happening? So they're getting interested, which is what I like. It's all I can ask for.
By the way, Mike, just want to step real quick.
Mm-hmm.
We were watching a show the other day, me and Sarah were, and I don't remember what it was, but it was British. And I swear to God, Hugo had a doppelganger on there. It's not Hugo from
Nice.
now, but it's like Hugo from like 3 years ago.
Oh, sweet.
Exactly like him, like
Yeah.
the long lock Hugo.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah,
Exactly like him.
nice.
Anyways, continue.
Not Hollywood Hugo now, as he
No,
calls
no,
himself with the short
not
hair.
Hollywood Hugo.
Freaking
Double H.
nerd. Yeah. So just just Friday night, just hanging out with the kids. Like we have all grown very fond of Guardians in the Galaxy 3. We have
Dog.
agreed this weekend that
I have it. I just haven't watched it.
that's our favorite Guardians movie.
I need to watch it.
But then oh God, what did we do? We did a lot of stuff this weekend, but we finished off. Obviously, I talk about how the kids love the beach, and we go. We didn't actually go as much as we usually do in the summer, but we went on Monday actually because it's stupid. I was gonna go Sunday but stupid freaking practice. So I was like, let's go Monday, and it was perfect too because it was crowded, but it wasn't too crowded, and I just spent nice.
You should have sent
3
Bill to
hours there.
practice because he likes going to watch practice apparently.
Hey, Bill, pretend you're me. Big jerk. But yeah, no, just had I knew it was a long, relaxing, yet at the same time exhausting weekend, with the kids and just getting ready for football. This was an awesome week of football. Like I came up with this idea, and the more I think about it, the more I think it's stupid and brilliant. Every Labor Day, there should be like a Coachella type event for this 5-day football. You go in, you pay. That tent has Colorado TCU. Oh, what's on the list next? Oh, well, UCLA. Whoa, that was awesome.
Oh my God, my drink mixer just popped its top.
We have ghosts here.
It got really excited about Mike's football tent.
Yeah. UCLA and Coastal Carolina is until 7:30. Well, what band is playing or what game? Just snacks. Rent some rooms and tents and stuff like that. It could be a thing, but seriously, I just loved every minute of it from Thursday to Monday, except the whole ESPN bullshit. That was pretty.
Yeah, I heard about that
fucking
from
weak.
the Spectrum Charter people.
Yeah. Every
Rip.
ABC ESPN game was not available. Sucked.
That's why I still pay DirecTV a whole lot of too much money to get.
Had
the
to
games.
find alternate
Same
ways
here.
to watch it, but no, but even like last night, like trying to review the UCLA game, football in 60, already there on the Pac-12 network. RIP.
Rip.
But yeah, no,
Mike, in your football Coachella idea, like what matchup would be the tent where you go like suck on a pacifier and drift off into an electric sleep type of situation? Like,
Any game with Hawaii.
Pac-12 after dark.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Pac-12 after dark is the rave tent. Okay.
I was like, yeah, we're serving beer, full bar, margaritas here. Oh yeah, it's 10 o'clock now. Oh, so drugs are cool. All right, let's do it. And also, it's back up for those of you interested. Onlyloons.com. Check it out.
The only site with only loons.
Jake, what's brewing with you?
I gotta watch this show.
Watch this show.
Jake. He watches too much TV. No one can get through to him. Jake. I really hope you know that Doctor Who is fake. Jake. There's more to life than Sherlock. Just a fight a new girl. Wait.
No, there's not.
Watch this show.
All you have to do is listen to that song, and you'll know what I listened to, like from like 2010 to 2015.
Yeah, right. That has to be updated. Oh, there needs to be a version 2.
It's perfect how it is, Mike. To be honest with you, it's perfect how it is. But it's a nice time capsule. But I'll keep this brief and quick. I know I'm speaking to a friendly audience here when I say that if you have the Disney Channel, you should watch the Ahsoka show because it was kick-ass. And it's like episode 3 already. And if you like Star Wars at all, this is some pretty fun Star Wars. But the other thing I want to point out to you if you're watching the Ahsoka is the Disney Channel. You know how like they have like their Netflix style cues, like where they have the little strip of shows that they suggest to you and then you like scroll down or whatever. They have one on there which is like essential to Ahsoka. And if you're a Star Wars nerd at all, they like lay out all the episodes of the Clone Wars and of the Rebels and of the Mandalorian and of the Boba Fett show that was on there that are essential to finding out what you need to know to get into the Ahsoka show. And it's pretty cool. Like you can just hit those episodes, catch yourself up, and then the first few episodes of the Ahsoka, which is basically just the Rebels show brought to live action. You know, the Rebels show was a CGI show. and it's just fun. Like if you like the new Star Wars stuff, like outside the movies are the worst part of this later age Star Wars. There's lots of arguing and gnashing of teeth over the last trilogy, but the TV stuff has been really, really good. Dave Filoni is really, really good at doing all these things, and they're filling in all the cool blanks. And the other thing, beyond Ahsoka, Tales of the Jedi, which is only like 6 episodes, like 20 minutes long. Really fun stuff if you like Star Wars stuff. You get the Count Dooku backstory, you get the Ahsoka backstory, and it's fun. So that's really all I'm going to say. I don't want to wax on too long about it, but watch if you like the Star Wars, watch the TV stuff and like try to forget about the movies, because that's really where it's at. Very good. So, Jamaal, it's been fun talking to you, seeing your face on the FaceTime.
Feels like old times.
Feels like old times, and we will catch up with you again too if you ever want to come on for anything while we're doing it. When we do the show, so we'll bring you on for some more Pac-12 talk. I'm sure. And
just mind the time, Jake. Mind the time.
I am available. Like I said.
Now you're working a great schedule, so that's good. Yeah. Mikey, it's always good. I'm glad we got through another wonderful MJ edition.
The ceiling is the roof.
The MJ edition.
And probably every other week's going to be an MJ edition. So, I mean, we get used to hearing that.
The MJ edition.
So, yeah. And if you have anything to say at all, feedback you have, the hotline, 805-399-4WBS.
4WBS.
Second Ranch, Troy.
Just off.
Yeah, Jamal's delayed.
I blame the time zone.
It's okay. It's okay. Email us at whatsbruinshow@gmail.com. And until next time, beat the Aztecs and go Bruins. Go Bruins.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's gotta be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, Rob, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.